Hey, welcome to the newest episode of the Articulate Ox podcast. I am your host, Soma79. Thank you so much for being here today. My guest today is hip hop artist Jeh Inatra from Syracuse, now living in the Orlando area. This dude is amazing. I found him because I have been on sort of a mission to find, dope hip hop artists in some of the smaller markets out there. I talked to Wordplay, the Flyest MC up in Juneau, Alaska. We talked to Concept in San Antonio and Beto Raps in San Antonio a few times, and Set the Tone T and Shadow as well. And so Syracuse to me has always had sort of a special place in my heart. They were the team that I was really into growing up. I think my first fitted hat was a Syracuse hat. I got to visit the Carrier Dome when I was younger, and we were looking at potentially going to Syracuse. I did not end up going there. Everybody there screamed how cold it was, and yeah, that was that. But I love the city, I love the team, and I was so happy to get a chance to talk to Jeh. Not only did Jeh and I have this conversation, but he actually is featured on my album, or my EP, Quiet Life, Loud Friends. I'm not, as I'm recording this now in end of July, I'm not sure exactly when it'll be released, but it is mostly done. And as you can see in the background, I'm still working on the cover, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Jay's verse is absolutely amazing. It's funny. It's a pretty aggressive song that we're on, and I didn't know Jeh before. I'd never talked to him before this conversation, other than a few messages back and forth, and he didn't really know me that very well either. And it's funny how not aggressive we both come off in this interview. I think we're both pretty calm, collected dudes. So I don't know, it was fun. Jeh, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for being in the interview. I'm sorry we didn't figure out to the last 15 minutes that we were both wrestling fans. So at some point maybe we'll have you and some other guests back to talk some wrestling, because it seems to be a topic that comes up a lot here. So go check out Jay's music, Jeh Inatra, on Instagram. Google him. He's on Spotify, all that good stuff. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. All right. Welcome to the newest episode of the Articulate Ox podcast. I am your host, Soma79. My guest today is hip hop artist and business owner Jeh Inatra. How you doing today, Jeh?
Doing great, bro. How you doing?
Fantastic, man. So we cross paths because, so if people have watched the show, you know that I recently talked to Wordplay, an Alaskan hip hop artist. I talk to the people from San Antonio all the time. So I kind of went on a mission to find people, rappers from different cities that I had some sort of affiliation with. You'd think right now you're from Philly. As I look at myself, I'm like, but no, you landed you crossed my path because you're from Syracuse, and I was a huge Syracuse fan growing up. I remember going to the Carrier Dome to look at the school when I was younger, and I remember it being a exciting trip for me. And so yeah, that's what it is, man. We recently did a song together for my new EP, Quiet Life, Loud Friends, that might be out now, might not, we'll see. But what's going on today?
Not too much, man. Just enjoying this Sunday, bro. Normally this is kind of like, rest time, downtime and stuff like that. But, hit me. It was like, hey, bro, I would love to get you on a podcast, get you on an interview. I was like, man, say no more, bro. Just let me know when, and we can go ahead and do it, man.
I appreciate that. So you're Syracuse, you're from Syracuse, you're in Florida now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Florida now.
All right. So how long, like, do you really define your roots as being a northern MC, or do you feel like you're more of a Florida style, or what's really the difference?
I would definitely say more so northern, mainly due to the fact that since I've been rapping, I've been getting comparisons to Jay-Z, like out of this world. Like
Take it, you'll take it.
Hey, yeah, exactly. That's a goat. That's a legend. Yeah. So I'm gonna take it, of course. But yeah, I would say definitely they're deeply rooted in northern hip hop, because that seems to be kind of like my style. When people hear my music, my lyricism, my wordplay, stuff like that, it really kind of does come from New York more so than South for the most part.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Jay-Z, because there was one song in particular that before we had interacted, I heard on Spotify. I wish I could remember the name now. It was from I mentioned it to you, and it was I'm so bad with names. But the thing that I really dug about it was like there was like one of those beats where there was sonically a lot of space and your voice totally filled it up. And it reminded me of like some of those early Jay-Z's. It reminded me also of Papoose, like that. I heard a little bit of that in your voice too, who I'm a huge fan of. And it just I was like, if you can fill up this space and then you should just murder any track. Like I was blown away by just like the
Appreciate it.
vocal. Yeah. So,
Most definitely, most definitely. And I've never heard anyone say Papoose, so you are a first for
word,
saying that.
man. Well,
Now
that's
I
a
know
nice
Papoose.
compliment.
Don't get me wrong. Like I
Yeah.
know Papoose. He is a legend in his own right himself. I mean, the alphabetical slaughter, bro.
Oh my
What
God.
is there to be said about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I mean, him
Like
and
you are
Remy
an
Ma, what a
airbag,
1-2 punch those two are as a
bro.
couple, you
Bro,
know.
so it's like for you to even put me in the same space as him, that's an honor as well too. So,
Yeah, I mean,
but now, man, like I said, I just really pride myself in lyricism. I pride myself in that. I pride myself in wordplay, and I also pride myself in the ability to tell a story. You know, like be able to actually get a message across that may relate to the listener, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, whatever the case may be. You know, that's always been kind of like a pride of mine.
and that's a lost art in hip hop, like the storytelling aspect. I mean, it was something that was just so important in the early days, from like Children's Story from Slick Rick to like Paul Revere by the Beastie Boys to like,
Yeah.
like Lottie Dottie by Snoop or Slick. It's like these days it's not done as much. It's you're just
So
sort of reiterating a copy of a copy. Not you, I mean other people to some.
yeah, other artists and stuff like that. And truth be told, bro, it's like with the exceptions of course, you know, the Kendricks, the J. Cole's, you know, the Lupes, all those
Lupe,
guys, you know,
yeah,
we still got those, you know. But
yeah,
as far as like the plentiful storytellers as we used to have back in the golden era, I consider to be the 90s of
yeah.
hip hop. You know what I mean? Like we don't have that no more. Like you said, like we really got to kind of search far and wide. And a lot of it is really coming from the underground, you know, the place where we represent, where we're coming from. Like a lot of that's coming from there. But you know, at the end of the day, bro, it's still out there. It's just that we have to really try hard to find it now. It wasn't just like blatantly put in our face no more. Now it's like, okay, let's cipher through all these gimmicky commercial rappers and
Yeah.
let's find these storytellers, you know.
It's funny. So my man Concept in San Antonio, I had him on recently. I asked him, like, this is the 50th anniversary of hip hop this year. And I asked him
Yep.
predictions for what he thought hip hop would look like when it's 100 years old. And what he said was he thought it would be basically almost gone, like, or like something that almost, he didn't use these words, but almost something more like ballet, where it's appreciated as a finer art, but it's less mainstream, but the people who into it are really into it. And it reminds me of something that they asked Steven Spielberg what he thought film would be like in the future, and he said he thought there'd be way less films. They would be in the theaters way longer, and they'd cost $100 to go see. And
Mm.
I don't think Concept heard Spielberg say that, or Spielberg heard Concept say it. But to me, it's an interesting thought about how these art forms that so many people love so much, the belief is over time they're going to be turned into something that's really just liked by a small amount of people. So now that I gave you that all everybody else's answer, what do you think the future of hip hop has, like, 150 years down the road? Do you think it'll still be around? Do you think it'll still be evolving? Or, because for me personally, I can't believe we're in an era where drums aren't as big of hip hop as they used to be. So
Bro,
anything's on the table now.
bro, with the exception of, you know, the Griseldas, you know,
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
exceptions of who else? The Run the Jewels, you know, those
Yeah.
guys, you know, like that are actually still keeping that pure art form
Yeah.
alive.
I'll throw Czarface in that mix. Like,
Yeah, Czarface, you know, like you don't get that anymore, you know.
no.
So it's like for me, where I think my prediction for hip hop would be, like I said, it'd be a lot less mainstream because I think it's really starting to maybe take a turn for the underground again, for the indie level artistry. I think it's starting to get back to that point. But at the same time, no, I feel like like he was saying, like it's not gonna be as pure of an art form anymore. Like hip hop is going to be kind of diluted. Like there's going to be so many more different elements incorporated into hip hop because I'm starting to hear it already. You know, there's actually an artist that I just came across because I was looking at, you know, the reviews for the XXL freshman list and everything this year's, and there's actually an artist by the name of Tia Corinne who's like kind of blending so many different like styles and genres together with hip hop. So it's like to say that it's going to be 100% pure hip hop, like what we grew up on, boom bap, you know, the backpack rap, whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a little bit of everything, just kind of meshed together.
In the same way, we don't see people walking around like the Great Gatsby anymore either. So it's like
Yeah.
there's this there's this thing that that happened a lot about 15, 20 years ago in great hip hop where everyone's like, yo, I'm taking it back to 92. I'm taking it back to 94. I'm like, yo, there's still records from 92, 94 I haven't heard yet. Like, so like
Exactly.
I'm gonna listen to that shit first. Like, take it back to now. Like, or maybe even
Yeah,
next
like
year. Like,
let that be where it is, bro. And I say that so many times where I hear remakes of songs. I'm like, yo, just
right.
let that live on its own. Like, I get it. It's a great record. I get you want to kind of recapture that feeling, but just let that live on its own, man,
Yeah.
and create your own. Like that.
Remakes are for Weird Al. Like that's the way I see it. Like unless
Yeah,
you're
it's
doing something
like,
like that, like which isn't really hip hop, but like there is so much. It's like I love Coi Leray, but like her big couple songs, it's like a lot of that was lifted from somebody else. Like,
bro, you have like
I'll dance to it, but
I,
still.
I've literally like sat down and try to count how many records like her and you familiar with Sweetie?
Yeah, yeah.
Bro, I try to sit there and count like how many original songs these people have. So I'm
I
like,
know.
yo, like that is literally another record, like that was
Yeah.
done back in the day. Like
And it's probably been
it's like
done 6 times since.
exactly. It's like where's the originality, man? I literally say this all the time. My wife, when we're just speaking, I'm like, yo, where's the originality, bro? Like, where's like the pure, like it ain't even got to be necessarily boom bap hip hop, but where's the pure creativity?
Right.
Like I feel like it's missing in
Yeah.
this genre, bro.
It
Like you can
is. It
see
is.
pop. Pop is innovative. Pop is creative. Pop is doing things different. Rock, same thing. Yeah, it might not be as I guess in a sense in the public eye as much as it used to, but they're still innovative. They're still creating new things.
There's still
Hip hop,
multiple genres of rock that are popular at once. Like there's still
exactly,
punk, there's still hard rock, there's still soft rock.
exactly,
Hip hop is
exactly.
still just hip hop to most people.
Exactly. So it's like with hip hop, it's like we're literally just recycling stuff. I'm just like, come on, bro. Like,
Yeah.
where is the originality, man?
Yeah. There's so many things in hip hop I'm done with forever. I'm done with the people going like this, and I'm done with talking to the money in the phone. I'm done with all of that shit. Like,
So you done with the Birdman?
oh
Rubbing
yeah.
the
Oh, you
hand?
know what? If Birdman can do it, I'm thinking about the dudes from like my neck of the woods. The some dude named Sully with a brim that's like flatter than flat and 96
Yeah.
shamrocks on, and he just like and
He's
I'm
just
feel like I
lean
feel
mugging
like
the
I'm probably
camera, bro.
describing like 35 real people that are now going to be hunting me down, but I'm at
You
7.
probably are, bro. You
Yeah.
probably are. I mean, but they won't take it the wrong way. I hope
No,
they won't.
no, they can't find me. They think I'm in Philly based on how I look. So, but like it's shit like that where you're just like I always hate like I'm what's next. I hate this is an instant classic. It's just like no, it's not, man. It's just
Yeah, like let it have time to marinate before we give it that label classic, bro.
right.
Like right now, I think and I hate to keep using like actual reference points as far as like other artists and stuff
No,
like that,
definitely.
but it's like right now with Nas, it's like he dropped Magic too,
Yes.
and I
Did that
haven't heard
actually
it yet.
come out or is that just coming out?
No, that's out. That's out for
Okay, because
sure.
I
So I
remember
heard a
hearing
lot of
last
people.
week there was a rumor Magic 2 is coming. Then I heard it is coming, but I wasn't sure if it was coming like last week or
Nah,
coming soon. All right,
it's
I gotta
out for
check that
sure.
out.
I think they actually got footage of him like listening to it, like at a listening party or something like that, like in NY.
Nice.
But automatically people are like, "That's a classic." I haven't heard it yet, so I can't
I
really
know.
give it
Yeah.
that title until I actually thoroughly, from top to bottom, do a full listen and then be like,
Yeah.
"All right, cool." And even with that, I don't think I necessarily give it a classic because that's a strong like thing to attach to a project.
Right.
Like it's got to be something that resonates like entirely.
Right. The last record that I remember people calling an instant classic that I think actually was Cuban Links 2. Like that's the only one that people went nuts on that. And now still to this day, I might even like it more than I liked it then. But even like you think like we waited so long for the newest Kendrick album, and that was a great album. It still is a great album, but it did kind of come and go pretty quick. Like people like the chatter about it died down fast.
Yeah, and I think
And that's
honestly,
no
like,
that's no nothing towards him. Like
oh
if
yeah,
he's
yeah,
listening, but
because he's true to me, bro. He's probably one of the few artists that can literally go ghost for like years and come back and drop like, oh, here's an album,
yeah,
by the way,
yeah,
like, and he still gets the reception that most people expect. But as far as like tying it to be a classic, I wouldn't call it a classic. I wouldn't put it in that realm. Like for me, it's a solid album. It's an
right.
amazing album. It has so many cuts and so many records that I was just like, damn, like he really did that. But for me to call it a classic, I wouldn't give it that. It has to be something more than just, hey, this is a dope album. It has to be more than that.
Especially when you already have Mad City and Pimp a Butterfly in your
Bro, Section
discography.
80, it's too many. It's too many. You know what I mean? So it's like to give that the classic, dude run a whole he won a Pulitzer Prize for Damn, bro.
Yeah, I know.
They're teaching that as a college course.
Right, as they should be. It's amazing. It's
That's what I'm saying. Like, come on, man. I feel like that was his magnum opus, you know what I mean? As far as like, okay, that is the standard of an album for classic material.
And just think about, like, you know, he's from Compton, where Serena and Venus Williams are from. It's like so much of what is now mainstream American culture from that perspective originates from that part of the world, and still it gets shit on, which is just like, you know, it throw NWA in there too, you know, Snoop, all those, you know, dudes.
It's just, all those,
what a like cultural gift, you know, it's been to the world. You know?
Yeah, man, and that's why I said at the end of the day is like we still got some people champion for the true essence of hip hop. We still do. You know, they're starting to kind of like phase out a little bit because as they get older, you know, they start looking at other avenues. Like hip hop is in their prime, you know, resource or their prime.
All of a sudden, Jadakiss is selling coffee, you know, it's like, or whatever it is. Which I'm for it. That dude can do anything.
Got Styles P. What is Styles P selling?
I want to say he's pretty vegan, so it might be something related to that.
Yeah, it's like supplements, I think, something like that. Because I actually got on his website one day.
I love those dudes. Like, to me, Jadakiss is absolutely amazing. Like his line on you know, I was talking to XL, the Beast from Boston. He's talking about how Gangstar was like the greatest album, one of the greatest crews of all time, especially from Boston. You love them. But whenever I think of Gangstar, I think about that song with Jadakiss, and I'm like, Jadakiss actually, I think, kind of killed Guru in that song. But he was like, you know why I invest the money in the haze and in the dope? Because right now I'm currently a slave for Interscope. You're like, what a fucking ridiculous bar to kick off your line with, where it's like, fuck my record company and fuck you too. Like, that's where we're starting.
Jada is a rare type of MC. Like he's one of those that come around every once in a blue moon. And I think honestly, people still haven't properly given him his flowers yet. I feel like there's still some like room to be like, yo, Jada, y'all got to put some respect on his name, because he's literally defined what street grit and what true hip hop, like in the sense of bars, delivery, just being a student of the game. Like he embodies all that. So for me, you don't have to sell me on Jadakiss, bro. I know how he gets down.
And it's like, for those who don't know, go back and listen to his 50 Cent diss songs. There's one in particular, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's just like, it's blistering. It's just like,
like, dude, what he did to I don't know if you're onto it or not, but Versus, they haven't done one in a long time.
With
but what he did to Dipset,
I know.
Oh my God.
Everybody thought Dipset was gonna win that. I'm like, have y'all heard the locks? I'm like, there's no way.
Bro, I was like, is it Jadakiss versus Dipset, or is it the locks? Because it seems like, you know, Chic and
Styles P look as surprised as anybody.
Yeah, they're just in the back chilling, and Jada is handling them by himself. I'm like, come on, man. Like, put some respect on this man's name.
I know. It's just ridiculous. So you said that the 90s is really what your heyday of hip hop. I don't know. What's your age range? Were you like a kid back then, or?
I want to say, because around that time I was really actually in I was in Syracuse, so I would say probably like from 8 to like 10. That was like my age range. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Because I was in the 90s.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Cool. Yeah. I was born in 79, so I was like maybe like around 12 years old when like The Chronic and all that shit came out. And it's just I mean, I'd say for me, the one that really blew my mind was Naughty by Nature. That Tretch from Naughty by Nature is such a ridiculously underrated MC. And I remember hearing him and just being like, holy shit.
That's another one too, bro. And it's just like because I think we lumped them with the group. Right. So it's kind of hard to remove them from a group aspect and be like, hey, this MC can do this. Like, we don't do that enough.
That happened to Black Thought for years.
Bro, oh my God. Dude, Black Thought.
He to me is the best. He to me is the best MC walking, the best total package.
It's like, it's not fair that you're
Yes.
that good. Like it's one thing to be good, but to be that good, bro, there's no reason why you should be that good. Like literally, people have said this dude is an alien, bro.
Yeah.
Like, the same thing they say about like Andre 3000. They say the same thing for Black Thought. Like he is a freaking machine.
Yeah. You
Like
watch
what?
him in that Funk Flex freestyle. If I was just wearing the clothes he was wearing there and just sitting there, I'd be sweating in 2 minutes. This guy is killing it, and it's like not a drop of sweat. Cool
Not
as a
a
motherfucking
drop of
cucumber. Funk
sweat.
Flex is losing his mind.
He's doing it flawlessly, bro. I'm talking about where it's like it doesn't even seem like he's out of his element. It's like he's in his element, he's
Yeah.
in his home all the time, bro. I'm just like, yo, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, bro.
Yeah, there's
Hands
so
down.
many lines in that. Like it's just I remember I've definitely done like hours on the treadmill where I just listened to that 6 times. And it's like there's like 8 million views in that video. I swear 2 million of them are mine. Till I pull
Bro,
this on this motherfucker like a space
bro,
jam.
I probably got about 10. About
It's,
10.
it's so good. Man.
Because it's
So
just like you go to appreciate stuff like that, bro. At the end of the day, because like we don't, it's a rare commodity for us, you know. So
speaking of rare commodities in hip hop, this is actually tied to Syracuse. I remember, so when I went on the tour of Syracuse, it was for my brother who eventually went to Northwestern instead. But and I was thinking about Syracuse as well. But like, so it was the first time I was ever on a college campus. We took a tour of the dorms, and the only thing I really remember about that is it was the first time I figured out who Biggie was, because I remember seeing the cover to Ready to Die in like multiple kids' rooms. I'd seen it maybe before in like little ads, but didn't really. I'd never heard the song or anything. But I remember being like, oh, this is somebody that I need to know. And it was like in that moment that I went home, I was like, all right, we got to figure out who this person is. Obviously, there's no internet back then. I'm in a small town in Massachusetts. It's like it's not like anybody's knocking them. I didn't have cable till 2001, so I was kind of out of
wow.
yeah. I grew up in a town where they didn't actually, you couldn't get cable until like 1990 or 1991. And to call somebody in town, you could only had to press 5 numbers on your phone, like up until like 2000. So it's
That's crazy.
yeah, it was a small town, so there wasn't a whole lot out there. I was teased mercilessly for my love of hip hop because it's you know, but whatever.
Dang, that's crazy. So pretty much like you kind of had like trying to see how to word it. So you kind of had like the outside point of view and perspective of like New York hip hop. Like you kind of saw where it was going and what it was doing, and it just kind of caught your intrigue. You was like, yo, I want to know what that is. Like, and then it became like an obsession in a sense.
Right. It started with the same things that start for most white kids my age. DJ Jeff and the Fresh Prince and the Beastie Boys. It's like once I got my ears on that shit, and that was the gateway drug. And then it's like from right there it went to Eazy-E, NWA, and Digital Underground, and then I was
like in that order. It's just like,
because it's like once I see that it's like you have Eazy-E on this end and you have Humpty Hump on this end, and then somewhere in the middle is like Jazzy Jeff and Beastie Boys, but you realize that's a really big range. Like it's like and it's like you can fit somewhere into that somewhere, because it's like I think a lot of people I knew grew up a lot of my peers that didn't listen to rap, they just saw people like Dr. Dre or Snoop and said, well, that is what rap is, and that's all it is, and if you like rap it means you want to be that, and you're just like it's like that's such a huge jump to make. And I don't know, I just was so encouraged by these other people that you're like, well, I mean, no one's walking around thinking Shock G's a tough guy from Digital Underground. He's just Shock G, and you just realize it's like there's room for
fun. He's having fun. Like the man had a freaking the little mask with not the mask, but like little glasses with the nose. He was having fun.
And I always remember too. So I remember someone once asked Ice Cube, like, you're a dude who had a lot of angry hip hop. You're a lot of like very aggressive, but you also starred in these family movies. And they're like, what's up with that? And he's like, well, he sort of spoke to it about like how America only wants to see, black people as one way. It's like they forget that you can be angry in the streets, but you still come home to a family and you want to spend family time. You're not going to come home and like just put the AK on the coffee table and be like, kid, go get me a 40. It's just like this idea that like that is weird, but it's like the idea that Ice Cube would go home and actually be a family man. It's like it shouldn't be a weird thought. It's like
it shouldn't be, but it's like in this day and age, it's like I think we've gotten so used to like, okay, this person is this way all the time. Like there is no downtime, there is no off switch. But it's like with the embrace and the emergence of social media, we're able to see behind the scenes now, like, oh, this person's a regular person,
Right.
just like me, you know. They're doing normal, regular day-to-day activity. Like, it's not just let me be this hardened criminal, drug dealer, individual, Scarface level type. You know, like I actually have a family. I actually have a wife. I have kids. I have,
Yeah.
regular day-to-day stuff that I got to do. So
I have roots
yeah,
in the
man.
community. It's like I'm not
Yeah,
just like
like I
it's like
get
because they
back.
want to paint you like a
Like,
psychopath. Essentially, is what it is. They want to paint you as a loner or a
back.
psychopath. And
Exactly. I feel like that's where hip hop takes that dark turn because it's like we always gotta, you know, in a sense, glorify, just the negativity. It's like there's so much positivity in hip hop, bro. There's
right,
so
it
much
is.
like, and it's like it always gets overshadowed by the negativity, and it's sad. It really does suck, but
You know what I've been enjoying lately is my girlfriend got Paramount Plus for some show she wants to watch, and I found that it has like tons of old UMTV raps. And
oh,
it's like,
word.
yeah, and I haven't seen those. I mean, a lot of them, like I said, I didn't have cable till 2001. I saw some of them at friend's house, but a lot of them I've never seen. A lot of them I haven't seen in years. And you're just like, oh, it's like Ed Lover just stopping by the Crisscross set to interview them. And it's just like this slice of time that you're like, wow, there it is. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
and it's just footage that you haven't seen in a while because it's owned by Viacom or MTV, so it's not like it's just popping up everywhere. It's really, really enjoyable to like
Oh,
relive some
yeah.
of those moments. Like
Like, it's a
it's
time capsule, bro. It really
yeah,
is. Like, I've been watching on YouTube. There's a guy who does, like, I guess, like kind of like a modern day review of like all the old music award shows,
oh,
like
that's
mostly
funny.
like VMAs. So
Yeah,
it's like heavily like MTV related and stuff like that. He literally take like a whole video and just kind of basically like a deep dive of like old VMAs
I
and
love that
music
stuff.
award shows. And it's like I love seeing stuff like that because that was my childhood. That was my teenage years. I grew up on that stuff. So it's like it's great, man. It really is, man.
And so many of those featured really kind of off the wall collaborations, like One Night Only, like Herbie Hancock up there with I forget who, but it's just like it's like stuff that never happened again and sort of was almost instantly forgotten about because it
Yep.
wasn't like it was going to tour. It was just some special night where everybody, or a tribute
Mhm.
to someone who recently passed.
Yeah,
It's
like what I would love to see them bring back unplugs, bro.
oh my
Unplug.
god. I was listening. I was driving around yesterday in Maine with my mom in the car, and I was listening with my
Mhm.
iPod. I'm like, what can I put on that's gonna be okay? And I put on like Pearl Jam Unplugged, and I was like, ah, this feels good. It's a nice like, and
Yeah,
then Arrested
it's a
Development
nice
Unplugged,
feeling.
that was a good one too. Jay-Z Unplugged with the Roots, that's
Jay-Z
an awesome one.
unplugged. Yeah,
Mariah
bro.
Carey Unplugged was
Oh my
I love that.
God,
What she sings
Lauren
with
Hill
Jackson
did an
Brown.
unplug. Yeah,
Yes.
like bro, it brings back a nice feeling. Like it's just like, damn man, I miss this. Like this is what music used to be. Like it's no longer that, which
It was an event,
but
you
it's
know.
like it literally was like I can see pure art being made in real time right here, right now
Yeah.
versus like right now it's like we get what we get, but it's like back then like we had full like display of like, yo, this is artistry at its
Nirvana
finest.
Unplugged was like that because he came out and he did a couple of cover songs nobody knew, and he didn't play any of the hits, but it was so magical. And it was the last thing, one of the last things he gave the world before he left. And he was just like, it's just a magical, like, I think his like guitar or his outfit for that is one of those things that's like astronomically gone for astronomical high numbers that
Oh yeah.
fucking just a
Oh yeah,
significant part of history.
for sure, man. And I'm just like, yo, let's get back to that. You know what I mean? I get it, time passes, things change, I get all that, but it's like let's get back to that, man, because that just it resonates so well like with our generation. So
Well, that's something I was thinking about too, because now we're really on the cusp of AI, and there's talk of like for you think about the way we can already make AI art. Pretty soon we can make AI music like that. But the
yeah,
question for me is whether going to be people are really going to accept it or not, or whether how good is a song if there's no authentic live experience of seeing it performed, or if it can or can't be recreated that way, or like is it going to be an instance where music becomes so easy to make all these people that never really are into it to begin with are going to drop off and the real music will be left to people who really care. It's like I was talking to my dad this weekend about how so much of what happens in the world is an unintentional consequence of some change, and
yeah,
it's like I don't think the music will play out exactly how it's like, oh, no one's gonna have to do this anymore, but something will change. I know it's not going to stop me from wanting to make my own music, but
nah,
like
nah. Once it's in you, and I tell my wife this all the time, it's like music is in you, bro. Like it's not something that Yeah, there's a lot of people that go to school and learn it. There's a lot of people that just pick up on it, it's just from like hearsay. But for the most part, the true artists, the true creatives, like that's within you. This is just like a channel to basically channel that energy, that expression, that creation. Like that's what that is for us. So it's
Yeah.
something that'll never die out. Like the pure artists are gonna remain. All the ones that are kind of like, I guess what you would continue deem to be like a one hit wonder. Those are the ones that's gonna kind of like phase out. But the true artists, they're always gonna be here, bro.
I read an article that Beanie Siegel, who shot in 2014, and his voice has never
Mm-hmm.
been the same again. He's working on something now where he's able to record his verses with what he's capable of doing, but he's working with some AI people that are able to make it sound like his old voice.
That's insane.
Right.
If that's possible,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But
that
like
is.
on the flip side of that, so I'm working on a song right now, and I have a hook that I wrote and recorded, and I'm singing it, but I don't have a singing voice, so I kind of am singing it only as just a sample to get somebody else. But I really picture it being kind of like like the old Beach Boys, like Brian Wilson melodies to it, and I'm like, if I had in a year from now, I might be able to have the ability to go, okay, I would sing this in Brian Wilson's voice, and then give me that file, and that's where you're just like, okay, what's that going to be like? And is that going to be like, what does it do to the legacy of Brian Wilson? What does it do to the value of my music? And is it a shortcut or is it an artistic choice? Is it a sample? I don't know, but
That's a great question, man. I mean, I feel like that's just
thank you. I
something.
just thought of it,
That's,
but it's going to keep me up at night.
that's amazing take, like for real. Like, but I think that's just like one of those things that we're gonna have to kind of, that bridge once we get to it. We're gonna have to cross. Like right now, like we can't really determine exactly what it's gonna be and how it's gonna unfold. But once we get there, though, then it's kind of gonna be like, okay, do we implement this? Do we allow this to happen? Because, like you said, it can literally tarnish a legend's
Yeah.
like it can tarnish them and almost in a sense write them out. Like, do we want to do that, or do we want to, allow the legacy to stay intact and allow that particular creative, that particular legend just to kind of thrive and live on their own. And
Yeah.
that's the bridge we're gonna have to cross once we get there. So
It's funny. The other thing I was talking to my parents about this weekend, how like when we were younger, you could all right, think about like maybe in like the 50s or 60s, like how many people, individual people in the world would have the ability to like blow up the world or at least alter it in a hugely negative way. You could probably count them on like two hands. And it's like as time has gone on, there's more and more people now that people have more and more weapons. It's more and more
yeah,
people who have that ability, which means like it's more and more likely to happen. And it's like this is a tool too, where it's like once this tool is in everybody's hands, it's like it's just gonna be maddening. And it's gonna be so many people who can blow up the music world, I guess. Or I don't know. I'm excited for it because I kind of always like a little bit of chaos. So it's like I don't leave the house very much. So like, we watch it
like,
from afar. But
I get like this is my enjoyment right here. So
yeah.
let it happen.
Yeah. I have this saying, I posted it once again today on my Instagram, is that if you're arguing in the comment section, you've already lost. And that's my mentality of like I want to stay outside of the fray completely, especially like I think once you start bickering in the Facebook comments, you should just shut it down. Like you should be like you really take a look at yourself. Like even if it's this stuff I really believe in, and I've had it written so many times and I've hit delete right before I hit post, and it's like I'm so proud of myself in those moments.
Yo, like for me,
I just don't want the smoke, I guess. I don't know.
It's not about necessarily not wanting to smoke. It's just like you feel like you have so many other better things you could be doing. Like, there's only but so much time in a day. Like why spend 30 to 45 minutes to an hour of that debating, going back and forth about something that's really not even necessarily that detrimental to your life.
Right.
So
Right.
I can leave this over here and I'm good.
Yeah. It's like we're not going to solve science versus religion today in this Facebook group.
Yeah.
That debate will rage on.
No, we're gonna have a whole on TED talk right now.
Yeah.
Comments. No, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. All right, so now that I've already interviewed myself on this podcast about what my early hip hop inspirations are, maybe we should ask you, what were some of those records that for you, when you heard early on, caught your attention?
I would say, for sure, since we already kind of unveiled him, definitely Biggie, Ready to Die.
Yeah.
That's one of those records that will forever live on. His legacy will never die out just off of that record alone. Granted, he has to, life after death as well. But I feel like with Ready to Die, his legacy is cemented.
Oh, yeah. And Life After Death is fucking flawless as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
except for player haters, sometimes it's a little rough to get through. But like that album front to end is amazing.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from life after death. It's just that when you die, I feel like that is synonymous with Biggie. Like everybody knows, just off the freaking iconic album cover, bro. The little kid, the baby with the diaper on.
I mean, it caught my eye out of just it was that made me go, I need to pay attention to this. And
like who is that baby? I need to know who that baby.
I know. You know what's a funny story? You ever heard of the Smashing Pumpkins? You ever know them?
Yeah.
All right. So Smashing Pumpkins, their first big album, Siamese Dream, had two little girls on the cover. They're just kind of hugging. Years and years later, one of those girls became the bassist for Smashing Pumpkins, and she had to audition and didn't tell anybody involved who she was until she already got the gig.
Wow.
Fucking weird.
And that's what I'm saying, man. It's like iconic artwork, bro. Yeah. That's the time that actually goes along hand in hand with the music. That's always going to be something that's going to live forever,
We talked about that recently with Concept. It's like you can't judge a book by its cover, but I think you can judge an album by its cover. I think it's
absolutely because and that's what's crazy. It's like just having this conversation, it kind of makes sense now. It's like a lot of people don't put so much emphasis on their artwork. Artwork is probably, I'd say, maybe 70 to 80% of the presentation.
Yeah,
I would, because today it's like that's what's going to grab your attention before you even hear a single word on that album spit.
Captures your imagination. It's
like, is that intriguing enough for me to actually take a listen to this? Maybe. Right. Or, nah, I'm not really feeling that. I don't think I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to leave that alone. Artwork, bro.
The artwork changes the way you hear the album in a way that I can't really put into words, but like it does, it leads whatever your mind is going to see in some way, shape, or form. It's in the amount. So whenever I get like, sometimes there's a couple record stores in Germany that I really like that you get really good deals, but you have to order a lot in order to get a good deal because it's shipping's expensive. So sometimes I'm like, all right, well, this is gonna be my thing. And I always order like one record that I only buy the cover and never have heard it before. And almost every time it's an absolute banger. It's just, you can tell. It's like, because the thing is like, nobody would put all this work into the art if the music wasn't good. It's like, that's
That's literally what it is, man. So it's like the artwork is always going to set you up for, is it going to be an amazing album or is it going to be trash? It always sets you up.
It's kind of funny. So like to talk about, my roots a little, we'll get back to it in a second. I remember I bought this cassette, Ghetto Boys, We Can't Be Stopped.
Ooh, the iconic with the O's.
I got this when it came out, and I was a little kid, and I remember I was with my grandparents. I bought it on a trip to New Hampshire, and I put it in my Walkman, and I was terrified. And I was like, this was way too real for me. And I put it away for 6 months to a year until I was mature. Because I was maybe like 10 or 11. I'm like, this is a 12-year-old thing.
Oh, yeah.
But this record is wild as fuck. But it basically introduced me to the adult world.
Yeah. That's Mind Playing Tricks on Me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric, still to this day, man, my wife cannot listen to that and not be creeped out. Still to this day.
Tell her not to listen to the rest of the record then, because there's a lot of fucked up shit on it.
I was like, yo, and if you actually saw the video,
yeah,
bruh, the video first.
There's so many crazy Bushwick Bill stories online. Like if you go do it in a YouTube wormhole of Bushwick Bill stories, I think I heard one that MC Search told that was absolutely insane. He's just one of those dudes that I think every day of his life that he lived, somebody who he encountered has a crazy story about what happened that day.
Yeah, Bushwick was a wild boy, man. He was a wild boy.
Yeah. Definitely. So what else was it that inspired you early on?
Definitely Nas, man. Illmatic. Yeah. Nas, probably hands down, if not my favorite rapper. He's definitely top 3 for me. Illmatic for sure. I would say Jizza, Liquid Swords.
That's one of my all-time favorites.
He just ran that back, I think, maybe a month or 2 ago. I just ran it back because I usually do that periodically from time to time.
Yeah.
I take a record, just run it back. That definitely Built for Cuban Links, amazing album. Raekwon, Ghostface. Um, Definitely Tribe Called Quest, Marauders. I love that album as well too. I run them back frequently.
Yeah.
Um,
Low End Theory was one of the first. I remember I got that and Heavy D and the Boys Peaceful Journey on the same day. There was like my fourth and fifth CDs I ever had, and I played the shit out of them.
nice, bro. Yeah, like any Tribe Called Quest for me, bro, is a win.
Yeah.
Um, I would
Back
say,
in the day when I was a teenager, before I had status and before I had a pager, you could find the abstract
bro,
listening to hip hop. My pop used to say it reminded him of beat. I love that shit.
the treat for me to run those old records back, man, is it's just so it does something to me. Like it just takes me back, transports me back to a
Well, it's
time
funny
when
too because I remember at the time, when I was a kid, people were like, "Hip hop's like disco. This is not music that's gonna last. This is just basically recyclable, like whatever." But those records, they do take you back, and there is a warmth and a feeling to them, and it's like, and especially because so many of them, like so many of the samples in those records, I mean, they harken back 20 years, so it's like there's almost a level you're going back 20 years and 40 years, and it's just you feel like you're a part of something evolving.
yeah, and it's just like you weren't alive during that time. Like, say, for example, like you were saying with the 40 year,
Yeah.
you still get to experience it through the music, through the sonics. You get to actually be like, damn, like I can listen to, I can experience this, like as someone who was alive back during that time. So that's why I love it. It's a beautiful thing, bro, to be able to just hop in whatever it is you're listening to, or just stream whatever it is you're listening to, and it takes you back to a place, man. Like for me, it takes me back to Syracuse. It takes me back to New York. Like granted, but as soon as I listen to one of those records, I'm right back to Syracuse.
Yeah. So what was the hip hop scene like in Syracuse? And like so Syracuse, for those who don't know, it's pretty far from New York, right? It's at least a couple out from New York City. It's at least a couple, it's closer to Canada, right?
Yeah, and it's crazy you said that because some of my artist friends, man, that I was running with, that I was doing music with, they kept throwing out little jabs here and there, like, "Yo, it's not New York, bro. It's not New York." I'm like, what do you mean, bro? It's like there's an NY behind it. Like,
Yeah,
what do
I
you mean?
know. It's like, what are you gonna do? It's cold like New York. That was the other thing I remember from being in Syracuse. Everyone was screaming, "Don't come here, it's freezing."
I'm like, bro,
And the
what do you?
whole and the whole campus was a hill. And I was like, those stairs are gonna get icy as a motherfucker.
Yeah, they was like, nah, bro, that's not New York. That's not New York. I'm like, what do you mean? It was like,
Whatever.
man, Canada, bro. I was like, what you? It's Canada. What?
It's like here's the thing. I've been to Buffalo and Syracuse and I've been to Canada. There's a big difference.
It's like, what do you mean? Oh, so we're Canadians now, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay.
shit.
But the New York, the Syracuse music scene, it was pretty much majority of what was coming out of the boroughs, bro. Like everything
Probably.
that was Queens, everything that was coming out of what is it, the Bronx? Like any artist that was coming out of that area, that's what we were listening to mostly. Like of course your Nas's, your Bigs from BK, your what is it? Of course the Wu Tangs, even though they
Yeah.
they kind of cast it off Wu Tang to the side too, like, oh, you're not from New York either. You're Staten Island. Get over there.
Ugh. It's
Like
like if you imagine if Ghostface hadn't said fuck 98 or was it fuck I'm hot 97 on the Summer Jam, how much different? And because they didn't play Wu-Tang for like 10 years after that or even long, it's like that would have changed the course of history. It's just
yeah, it's like how many amazing albums came out of that camp. The
shit.
camp that kind of just shunned away, like get out of here, Staten
Yeah,
Islanders. No,
whatever.
bro, dude, like we listened to them, we listened to chorus Queens Mob, we just listened to a bunch of stuff that was coming out of the boroughs, bro. Like that's why I say, like, even to this day, like I don't know what the Syracuse hip hop scene is. I really don't, because not only am I not there, but it's like I don't hear too many artists putting on for Syracuse. I hear Rochester, I hear Buffalo, I hear, all these other upstate areas, but I don't hear nothing about Syracuse. Like, yo, I'm an MC from Syracuse doing such and such. I don't hear that.
Yeah, that's like when I was talking to XL the Beast, Boston MC, a few weeks ago. He said something similar about he's a little older than me, so he was around the Boston hip hop scene earlier, and he's like, that was the problem is anybody that was even had a close to a chance to make it will just go to New York, and
Yeah,
so it's like it left us with like even Guru was our big dude, and he left for Brooklyn, and it's it's there wasn't what's like why when the Mecca is right there, if you're serious about it, why would you stick around?
Bro, J. Cole whole left North Carolina, the South,
Yeah.
to go to New York. You know what I'm saying? Because they know that's the mecca of hip hop. Like, if anybody knows anything about hip hop, that is, it's rightfully so for the most part, for most people, in their opinion, the birthplace.
Right.
So
I think Griselda is a weird exception just because I think because they're sort of a collective, it's not like it's one person trying to make it. They sort of just really set their roots in and just grew from there. And that's they to me, they really fit in the space between Wu-Tang and the Locks. Like they're like sonically, it's like right there in the middle, and it's just I'm totally there for it. It's just it's fucking amazing.
Ox and Wu-Tang and they had a baby.
Yeah, it was Griselda, and it's just I love that shit. It's
so militant with the way they move too, because like you said, it's kind of like a one for all and all for one situation.
yeah.
It's not
Oh man,
West
I
Side.
got nervous when they got signed to Shady Records. It's like as you probably could guess, I do love Eminem, but like everybody who signs to Shady Records, you're like, oh, this ain't gonna work out well. Like this is just they for some reason they just never get around to like I don't know what, and I'm just like, I hope Griselda doesn't fucking
Yeah,
fold under this, but they survived.
yeah. But see, the thing is, I think they set up such an amazing deal for themselves to where they don't get lumped up into all those other artists that were just like I think they're Shady slash Griselda slash Interscope. Like there's so many other components that are added into that, so they won't be 100% shady. And I think
Yeah.
that's where a lot of those artists that didn't really make it off the ground, they were just strictly shady. So
Yep, yep. And I think there's something too where it's like someone like Ted Williams isn't the best baseball coach, hitting coach, because he can just naturally hit. And it's like I think Eminem is such a natural MC. He's not probably the best businessman. And even like I think his hooks are kind of he's not even the best musician. I think his hooks aren't that great. He's just so good at one thing. And then,
yeah, I've heard so many people say that where like he's an amazing artist, but business wise, nah, that's not his strong point
no,
at all.
no. So, but I guess when you still even being bad at business have that much money, I guess it's who's laughing.
Yeah, exactly. And has what had God knows how many number one albums. Yeah, so many like nominations for awards. He's probably won so many awards. Like it's at this point, his accolades are just endless. So
Yeah. So what were the rappers that made you? It's funny for me when I grew up, I couldn't figure out how rap was made. No one was there to explain to me what a drum machine was, or even what a 4/4 beat is. So it took me a while. I got to rap by basically failing as a singer and being pretty good as like a poet. And then I was like, all right, we can try this. So what was it that inspired you to sort of actually pick up the pen and start working on your own songs?
my brother. My brother was the main influence, the main driving force behind me getting into it. He was pretty much like a huge New York rap fan. Like that was his thing. Especially his time spent in Syracuse. So he was full fledged on the mission to be a rapper. Like he was like, "Yo, I got to make it as a rapper. That's big for me." Um, then one day he's like, "Hey, bro, I got this record. You see what you can do with it. See if you can write something to it. If you spit it and it's cool, then we'll keep it. If not, then don't worry about it. It is what it is." So that first song that I actually rapped to, like the first beat I rapped on was DJ Khaled's Brown Paper Bag. That was the very first one. Um, that's when I really started getting the comparisons to Jay-Z. Like that's when that initially first started.
On
Was with
song one?
yeah,
Okay, that's a good start.
song one.
I don't know
Um,
who they were comparing me to. I was thinking back to my first song, and those were not the comparisons they were making.
yeah, really. And I guess it's just, because the wordplay, like the wordplay was like kind of not necessarily Southern, because mind you, we were down here recording that. We were in Florida recording. So, around that time we had pretty much majority Southern rappers like your T.I.s, your Outkast, stuff like that. But and Lil Wayne, of course, Lil Wayne was dominating. But at the same time, it's like you weren't hearing, I guess, New York rappers as prominently as you were back in the 90s and stuff. So I guess that was kind of like a nostalgia thing for them. Like, oh yeah, you sound like Jay-Z, like just the way you're approaching the track, your confidence, the way you're rapping, the stuff that you're saying, like it's
The
you know, and
space, the thing I think, the space you leave, like when to come in and when to come out, which is something Jay-Z is so good at. Like there's definitely that in your music too.
thank you. Thinking, I think actually, one of my artist friends, like he told me, it's like, yeah, bro, it's like he's like you're different. And I was like, what you mean? He was like your confidence, the way that you
Yes.
deliver. Like it's no room for second guessing, or there's no room for like, am I sure? Does it sound right? It's like you command when you spit. You command a certain, like, it might not be the most cleverest thing ever, but it's like, yo, the way you pretty much convey it, it's flawless. It's almost
That's
insane.
100% true, because I'll tell you that is the reason why I reached out to work with you on the Put the Mic Down song for my EPs, because there's that one song that I heard of you on Spotify, and I was just like, if he can do this, if he can fill this space and he can do this, and I'm sure he can do anything. It's like, oh, this is just someone who knows what they're doing. This isn't somebody who lucked into a couple of good tracks. It's like, this is, he's exactly right. I know exactly what he's talking about.
And what's crazy is the fact that it's like when you first sent me the record, bro, little behind the scenes,
Yeah.
when you first sent me the record, I was like, oh, this gonna be a challenge right here.
Yeah, and for me, that's not like a lot of my records either. So I'd say it was a weird record for me to make.
Yeah, I was just like, this is gonna be a challenge, because I don't know what I was expecting to hear, but it wasn't that, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't like, oh
Yeah,
man. It was like, okay, this is different, but it's a good different. Like I told you in the message, like my engineer loved that shit, bro.
sweet.
Like he was like, yo, I love this. I was like, yo, just before we record, bro, this is not my usual lane. This is not no boom bap. This ain't no 90s hip hop stuff. This different. He was like, all right, cool. So he's hearing it just with your verse on it. Just with your verse on it,
Yeah,
he already fell in love with it. Then
nice.
he heard what I did to it. He was like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's funny. The guy who made the beat literally just texted me right now. He must know that we're talking about him.
Look at that universe. Always top of it,
I
bro.
know, I know.
Yeah.
Shout out Pillsy Beats. Yeah, that I for that one, I remember it feeling when I heard the beat, feeling like a little Rage Against the Machine. Like I'm like, it's got a little bit of that to it, and that was kind of where I tried to go with it. Because I'm not a very, as you probably, I'm not a tremendously aggressive person, but I am doing a lot of screaming about fighting on that song. I don't. Hopefully, no one calls me on any of that.
Yeah. Like speaking to you now, like on one, just like, downtime outside of just the music, like you're a very calm dude. You're very
Yeah,
like just mellow. Like it's not even like,
I
and
know.
that's like, yo, I like the aggression on it though, because it calls for it. It's
Yeah,
like it's that type of record where it's like you got to have some kind of like oomph behind it, like it can't just be like, I'm just gonna rap this mellow monotone the whole time. Like you gotta actually like have some little bravado and actually have like some aggression to it. And that's why I was like, yo, keep it
yeah,
that way. I mean, record a separate just to have as, maybe a backup, but keep that, bro, because I like it.
yeah.
And
Appreciate
I
it.
told my engineer, was like, with me getting on this record, I wasn't gonna try and mirror what you did. I was gonna bring myself to it.
Right, which I really
But
appreciated. That's what I was hoping you'd do.
oh yeah, absolutely. But see, the thing is, a lot of artists, they'll end up tricking themselves into thinking, I got to be exactly like the artist that made the song. I got to do exactly what they did. I looked at it like, yo, I'm gonna bring Jeh Inatra to this record. Like, I'm gonna deliver what I would normally deliver on my own records, or something else that's in my alley. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
bro, I enjoyed it, man. It was an amazing experience
it too.
doing it. And like I said, at the end of the day, man, that's what really got me into music, was my brother. Like without him, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you right now.
So is he still making music?
Here and there. Like I feel like life has gotten the best of him, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like he few and far in between makes songs and puts out stuff here and there. But for the most part, nah, it's mostly me.
I mean, I took 10 years off myself. I didn't start getting back into it until COVID hit, and I was just stuck in an apartment alone going. I remember thinking, okay, there's a couple artists I always wanted to work with. I never quite finished my rap career I wanted to. I bet those artists right now, if I hit them up, they're probably hurting for money because they need to go, they're not going on tour. I bet I can get a good deal. And I started I was calculating in my head before I knew I was like typing, and I'm like sending beats to people. I'm like, I haven't written a rap in 10 years. Why am I writing this person a check? Like, and then it snowballed.
Hey man, I mean, did it work though?
It has been, because I haven't. So I recorded this full album that's called Drinking Songs for Children. It's coming
Okay.
out. I'm making a film to go with it. It's about halfway done. There's a video for every song. There's some stuff in between, but I got like Raz Cass, Elza, Young Dirty Bastard, Cool Keith, Copyright, Mac Lethal, and Esoteric, a few other people on it. So I got the album in the can. That's like everybody. It's my dream album, and now I don't want to just drop it cold. I want to like work up to it so that I'm not just some random idiot dropping an album. So that's why we're doing the EP that you're on. We got a couple other good people on that. I got another repeat comment. And I'm still slowly building up my name, but it's like I'm working with Percy P on a song, and he was one of the dudes that made me quit rapping because when I heard him back in 2009, I was so intimidated. I'm like, fuck me. And now that I'm working with him on a song, then yes, it is working because it's all coming together. So,
and that's the most important thing, bro. As long as you have like a solid game plan behind how you're gonna actually present the music to the world, because I think that's where a lot of the failure for a lot of indie artists comes in. Is like they make all this amazing, great music, but how do they package it up and get it to the listener?
Because
Like,
you can only drop an album once. It's like you can't just drop it and go just kidding and put it back out.
There's no take backs. There's no like, you know what? Where's the edit button on there?
Right.
There
I mean,
is.
Kanye does it, but not that he's the model right now of who you should be. But
Who really wants to follow Kanye right now? No one wants to.
no shit, yeah.
Nah, like at the end of the day, bro, as long as you have a solid game plan behind it, bro, and you actually have thought it out to where you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this at this time, or I'm gonna put this with this. Like you have all the pieces of the puzzle figured out. As long as you have that, bro.
Well, the thing is, the other thing too is keeping track of what your goal is. And my goal of this is not to really make money. It's not to tour. It's to be able to make another interesting opportunity. Because I was able to kind of invest a little money in this, but I could never justify at my point in my life doing that again. So I need this to get me to a point where someone else will give me the money to do my next thing. So that's sort of where my mind is at on it. And it's like, even doing this podcast and meeting all these new people that have all these ideas and all these new connections, it's like, that's where things are really working out.
Because that's I would say that's what it's really about at the end of the day. It's really about building connections, networking, actually getting people. That's what it's about.
So what brought you down to Florida from Syracuse? How long have you been there for?
My parents brought me down here, bro. We moved down here when I was 10. Haven't been back since, which I really got to work on that. I haven't been back to Syracuse in God knows how long. But what brought us down here? It was a lot of back and forth, between here and Syracuse. Like I'll be there, then I'll be down here, and as a kid, it's got like a little bit too tiring. My parents, they got tired of doing it, so they're like, you know what, we're just gonna pretty much set up shop here in Florida, and that's what we're gonna do. And ever since then, been down here.
Yeah. What's the hip hop scene like where you're at?
Florida.
There's a lot of different Floridas. I mean, I spent a bunch of time in Orlando and a little bit of time in Miami. But I was in Miami, I think one night actually my entire life at a hotel for business, in the Cash Money All-Stars, 2 of their tour buses pulled up the same time I pulled up, and the hotel was taken over like instantly. The lobby was wild as fuck.
Imagine, bro. That's what you said. Cash Money.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
no, it was a cat. No, it was a Cash Money. It was Juvenile. He's Cash Money, right?
Money, yeah. Around that time.
It was back that ass up. It was around that time. It was like early 2000s.
That's Cash Money all day.
Yep.
Yeah. Imagine Cash Money was their run. Like that was hip hop to pretty much rule it. But I would say down here, like I mentioned in our previous conversations, very competitive. It's a lot of there's a lot of people making music down here. Like I came to sit here and say like, oh, it's a market with just a handful of people. Like, no, everybody makes music down here. But it's like, how do I put it? It's like people look out, but they're not necessarily inclined to look out, because it's almost kind of like I gotta be the top dog. Like I can't allow someone else to share that spotlight with me. So it's very competitive, very kind of like, in words of style, I would say probably more so you got your lyrical here and there, but it's a lot of turn up music. To be honest with you, it's a lot of turn up music. It's a lot of lit music, whatever they want to call it these days. Like it's a lot of that. So
yeah. Whenever I think, have you ever seen Spring Breakers?
The movie,
Yeah,
with
with James Franco and Gucci Mane, like.
Oh yeah,
I just pictured James Franco. James Franco, I think, is basically playing Riff Raff. I think isn't that the guy's name? And when I think of Florida hip hop, that's the name I go to first. I'm like, God, I hope it's not all like that.
I mean, you do have those now, bro. Don't get me wrong.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, I mean, I've been to Florida. I've witnessed a little bit of it.
But there are some cats that I've actually been blown away by that are actually holding their own as far as like lyrical hip hop. They got something to say. They actually got some lyrics and some bars and stuff. I will say there is that too. It's just kind of like a diamond in the rough that you got to find. So
I think this Soliloquist of Sound might be from there, which is a group I used to play with sometimes years ago, open for, and they were fucking amazing. But
you,
yeah, I
you
know
get
obviously Florida is a very diverse state as well.
it's a melting pot. There's so many people here from different regions, different areas. So it's never one sound type of city. It's
Yeah,
always a multitude of different sounds and different, artists and stuff like that. So
yeah, yeah. So Florida, it takes a lot of shit these days, and we don't have to go into all the reasons why. But what's it like living in? Is there Florida pride, or is it like is there sort of some eye rolling towards the way that your state is viewed in the country right now?
um I think there's a lot of both. It's eye rolling, but it's also at the same time there's some pride in it. There's some things that's being implemented in this state that I'm not too fond of due to the governor.
Related to what they're educating kids on history, perhaps?
Like, come on, man. Like, I didn't want to go there, as far as like say it, but yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Um,
We don't have to go too deep in it, but it's fucked up.
but yeah, I'm just like, come on, man. Like, you're literally trying to erase American history.
Yeah. For
No,
some
no,
reason, erasing American history is being put up to a vote. And you're like,
yeah, it's like, no matter how you feel, it's still American history, bro. Like,
yeah,
you can't just get rid of that because you don't like it. Like,
yeah.
you're got to.
But then again, these are some of the same people that are getting rid of American present because they don't like it. It's like they're denying things that we all saw happen. And it's like, so history is like, that's old. They're getting rid of what happened like yesterday.
Like, I even gone on to see an article floating around where they were saying, like, I guess, African Americans benefited from slavery in the sense of
That's,
we
yes.
skills and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
You're welcome. It's like, what the fuck? Like, it's like saying they got a nice boat ride. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You got to see,
Yeah.
sight.
Yeah, you never would have seen that if you were still on the Ivory Coast, like with all of your fucking diamonds and all those jewels we also fucking stole. Oh, whatever.
Bro, so it's like it's stuff like that that just kind of has me scratching my head. Like,
Yeah.
this can't be real, but there is a lot of pride in the sense of
There's Space Mountain, on the other hand.
there's that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, granted, we're we're possibly about to lose Disney. Don't know if you heard about that. Like, I think
That's wild. It's like there's somebody at Disney right now figuring out how possible it would be to just like put like a giant spatula into the whole thing and lift it up and move it a few states over.
because that's literally what I envision when they say they're
Me
going to
too.
move. I'm like, how are you going to do that?
Yeah. Cut it off from the coast and push it. Like it's like
Do you understand how much Disney makes up of Florida? Like,
it's wild.
like it's there is no Florida without Disney. Like,
Right.
it's
What's
economy.
left?
It's
Yeah.
Florida. Like, but they're talking about moving into Georgia, I think, or something like that. So I'm just like,
Georgia's
okay.
nuts. I'm actually thinking about heading down to Georgia in a few weeks to visit a friend of mine who lives there and is moving out of the country soon. But like, Georgia is everything that Massachusetts was trying to be because there was a push when I was younger. I went to film school and they were saying that they're going to try to make Cape Cod down the Mass like Hollywood East, and that was going to be they're going to have all the film studios out in Cape Cod, and that's where they're going to shoot all the shit. But Massachusetts, aka Taxachusetts, has a way of fucking everything up, and that never happened. And because of just the way we do shit, and it became Georgia essentially, and now that's where all the Marvel movies are shot and all that stuff. And it's like they have one of the biggest airports in the country, and we're up here fucking dicking around. Like,
Can't get your stuff
I'm
together.
I'm up here shooting a movie in my basement.
Get your shit together.
Yeah, no shit. I'm trying. It's like I joke with everybody at work with every year at New Year's. I'm like, my New Year's resolution is for everybody else to get their shit together.
Hell, Florida is not too far from that, bro. Like, we down here doing some stupid shit too.
Yeah. I think in general the problem is that we give the average person too much credit. That like it's like we look at. I was talking with this the other day. Think about the fact that almost every species of animal that's ever existed is gone. And like for some reason, us humans just think because we figured out things like breakfast cereal and how to drive a manual transmission that we're somehow immune to that bullshit. We're not. We're gonna blow ourselves up. Yeah, it's like we got some of these. We use them to play fucking Nintendo Switch all day. Like,
Yeah.
you know. It's like a
Yeah,
fucking gorilla ever got his hands on a chainsaw, we'd all be fucked.
it is crazy when you think about stuff like that. You're like, yeah, that is reality. That is really reality, bro. Like for me, honestly, man, like I enjoy being down here, but I feel like I was in the wrong place. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, as far as like my hip hop career and stuff like that, I feel like I was in the wrong place. I even kid around and joke and say, man, I was born in the wrong era. You know, like I
Yeah.
was doing this in the wrong era, should I say? Not born in the wrong era because I'm an '80s baby, you know, so I love it. But
Just like
just being,
Jay-Z claims to be.
yeah, yeah, this guy, bro, you were born in the '60s.
He's
Stop
older
lying.
than me.
Born in the '60s. Stop lying.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just feel like I was doing it in the wrong era. Like, if I could go back to the golden era, the hip, you know, '90s hip hop and stuff like that, like I feel like I would have more, and it's not necessarily more success, but I would have more of a backing and more of a support system. Because again, like when it comes to artists like you and I, like true artists in the traditional sense,
Right.
we don't have a strong backing. Say, for example, like a mainstream artist who is putting out, you know, usual regular degular, you know. So
Right.
it's like if I
Well,
had that, then
even indie labels. I mean, it's like that all is true unless you're like signed to Tommy Boy, who you'd probably still be cursed out if you're doing. But like, it's like in the early 2000s, we had stuff like Raucus, we had LP's label, Def Jux, Stone's Throw, which is still around, sort of, I guess, and then Rhyme Sayers, which is really the one that stuck around. But it's like we had local labels here that disappear, but like without the labels and without the radio stations, like that's why Boston hip hop never really popped off, is because we never had a radio station to support it. Like there was never anything to unify all of us, and that's never going to happen again, you know.
I was like, I know you guys got spitters up there. I know for a
Yeah.
fact that you guys got like, you know, some dudes that can get down, you know,
Yeah.
like some art down. So it's like
And
to
now it's a
not,
little different, but it's like even Czarface is their biggest artist, but people don't think of him as a Boston artist. It's Wu-Tang, you know.
yeah, like, and they automatically pin him to New York, even though he's from, you know, from where you're from. So
Yeah.
it's like if we were to have that, I feel like, you know, we'd be making more grounds, we'd be breaking more, you know. And it's just like for me, at the end of the day, it just it calls for possibly relocation. It calls for possibly like, you know what, let me go test my skills and put that to work in another region, another place, because maybe this isn't the place. You know what I mean? And it's like my goal, just like yours, is not to be uber rich and to be famous. Definitely not famous. Don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, it's just to get, I guess, the notoriety and get the recognition for putting out, you know, amazing music. Like everybody wants that. You know, I don't care
Yeah.
how big of how small of an artist you are. You want that. You want that notoriety to like, you made an amazing album, bro. That is
Right.
super dope.
Because if
Want
nothing else, you want it for the opportunities that will bring. Because it's like when someone goes, "You made a dope album," that person may go, "Now I want you on mine," and it's like that wouldn't happen. It's like in order to keep challenging yourself, you have to make these doors open by your talent and your smarts.
that's what I believe wholeheartedly in my heart. That's the reason why I accepted jumping on your record. And it wasn't even necessarily for the money, bro. It was just the fact that I feel like I could challenge myself
Yeah.
because I've never like that in my entire 12, 13 years of rapping. Like I've never done anything like that. That sounded nowhere nearly remote to that.
Right.
Like, you know what? Hey man, challenge yourself. Do it.
There's
Accept
so
it.
many records that I love there. Like I was a Big Daddy Kane record called Off Limits, where he raps over a drum and bass beat. And it's like it's ridiculous. He comes so fucking hard on it, but it's just like he never would have done that in his own. He did it because some was like, "Hey, I got something you might be interested in." And he was like, "Yeah." And it's like there's so many of those records when someone steps outside their comfort zone that they produce something really special. You know,
Something great and something amazing that they never saw themselves doing. You know, that comes for those type of challenges and just working past that adversity. Like get through it. You know what I mean? Like do what you gotta do and make something amazing, man.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're a business owner as well. Is your record label Heartbreak Records? Is that what it?
Arts Music Group. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry about that. I got that wrong. But say that again so everybody can hear it clearly. What's the name of it?
Broken Hearts Music Group, but I also have another company by the name of Forever 86 Inc. So yeah.
Excellent. So what's the story behind those?
Well, the record label came about, I would say roughly 2016, 2017. That was around a time where of course, I hadn't dropped my first official album. Um, and at that point in time, I was looking at expansion. I was kind of like, you know what, I want to grab the next set of artists coming up, indie artists, and kind of mold them and build them and help them get their careers going. So that's how that came about. As of right now, we're still operating, we're still going. I had a couple of artists that were affiliated with us, but they kind of, decided to go and pursue their things separately from us. But for the most part, though, it's still thriving, still going. I'm pretty much the main artist, the main focal point. But yeah, we're still going strong. Pride ourselves on making amazing, dope music, hip hop.
You're
As
doing
far
that.
Thank you. As far as Forever 86 Inc., that's more so kind of the brand that pushes, not necessarily, how do I put it? It pushes more so with spiritual side, that spiritual connection to music. Like a lot of people don't, they think of music just being just music, but there's a lot of spiritual ties to it. So I incorporate, the spirituality that comes into making music. Also, as well, too, underneath that, I do have Forever On Media, which is a media-based company that I founded probably a year or two ago, and pretty much just putting all the media aspects behind the music, which is, Broken Hearts Music Group.
What is it like? I mean, you kind of referred to working with other artists and having them sort of, do what happens. What is it like? I've worked with a bunch of younger artists. It can be a very rewarding experience, or even older artists, whatever. But it also can be that thing where you're just like, how come how come it feels like a square peg in a round hole sometimes, or how come it feels like trying to push like a wet noodle against a wall? And it's just like, is there instances where you feel like this really is clicking and working, and somewhere you're just like, maybe we relate but can't work together? Like, what's it like trying to work with a young artist? I say this because I always find it frustrating as fuck.
I would say because they got to have a willingness to learn. Like
Right.
it comes down to, are you willing to be a student to this? Because it's more than just making music. Like, like you
Yeah.
gotta study this. Like, it's not like I'm just gonna wake up one day and I'm gonna be a rapper. Even though we see that a lot, but the great ones, the ones that really make an impact and make a real splash in this, they have a willingness to learn every aspect of the game, not just the artist creative side of it, but the also business side of it as well. If you're able to get an artist, young or old, wherever the case may be, who's willing to learn, then it can work out perfectly. But if you got artists that's like, I'm coming in, I'm doing this my way, you can tell me everything you can tell me, but I'm still going to do it my way, then of course it's going to be pushback. Absolutely. Because they're not willing to learn. They're not willing to take these little nuggets that you're willing to give out to them to actually be able to apply it to their career. They just
Yep.
want to, let me do this my way, but your way wasn't working, because if it was, you wouldn't have come to me
Right.
for especially if you reached out to me. Now, if it was vice versa, I reached out to you, then that's different. But if you came to me, then there's clearly some value in what I have to give you. So why wouldn't you take it? But yeah, it's really just a willingness to learn, bro.
Yeah. And for the thing I run into sometimes is I find out that some people want to do this for different reasons, where it's like, once that they have the first time they come off stage and an attractive woman is into them, for them, then the mic is down, and then they've already achieved they've gotten their Grammy, and now they're done with music. And I've seen that happen with a few different people. You're just like, well, we're supposed to go and keep working some more stuff. Like, we're not like, it's
That sense, he made
yeah,
it.
I know. It's like, and I guess we all have our own, goalposts, and we all want to make it in our own way. But you run into that sometimes when we're like, when you don't want the same things out of it, that to me has often led to clashes.
But it's funny. But it's actually important that you bring that up, because again, like, we all have different goals, like different mindsets when it comes to success and achieving those goals. So it's like, what are you in it for? Like, I think that's always a preliminary thing that needs to be brought up before you continuously do, business with this person. Like, what are you in it for? Are you in it for the fame? Are you in it for, the quick satisfaction and thrill of, say, a female, or just some quick money? Like, what is it that you're trying to do?
Yeah.
So for me, it's never been about the money. That's why I said, like, I would have jumped on the record just to jump on it, because at the end of the day, it's a challenge for me. It's like, yo, how do I sharpen my sword real quick?
Right.
So,
On the
but
flip
from
side, though, I also think that, like, if you're good at something, you deserve to be paid. And it's like, because it's like you sound like a professional, so should be treated like a professional. I think that's especially at this point where it's not like, you and I are like hanging out at the same high school and just like, smoking weed behind the back and like fucking to this music. It's like I tracked you down on the internet, found you, decided you'd sound good, tried to think a professional way to reach you out. It's like I'm not gonna be like, oh, by the way, I'm not gonna give any money. Like, then acting like, oh, but like, whatever.
That's what I appreciate about you, because at the end of the day, I've had so many interactions with other artists to where it's like the moment I mention any kind of compensation, or the moment I mention anything on the back end, I'm talking about the BMI,
Yeah.
registration, or ASCAP, or royalties. Anytime I speak of anything like that, they're out.
Yeah.
they're
either
they're
unwilling or too confused.
Yeah. So I'm just like, for you to come at me the way you did, I was like, okay, this is a professional right here. This is someone who knows their stuff. This is someone who's passionate about what he's doing.
I
So
make
I was
sure that in the first message, any moment time, I'm like, and I acknowledge the fact that let me know how much you want, because I'm just like, we might as well get that out of the way, because I'm like, I just want people to know that I'm not looking for a handout.
Yeah, that's what I respect about you, bro. Is the fact
Appreciate
that
it.
you don't come into it with a handout mentality. Like, well, we're doing the same thing, so hey, I shouldn't have to pay
Yeah,
you. There's a
do it for the love.
thing like, bro, you be amazed. I'm pretty sure you come across some
I know.
that have been like that. You're just like, and there's nothing wrong with having that, but just understand you're only gonna get but so far with that mentality. Because at the end of the day, everyone's doing this from a different level. There's people who are just doing it as a hobby. Like they picked up the pen and the pad and this is what they like doing.
Yeah.
And there's people taking this serious enough to be like, this is my livelihood. I want this to fund my livelihood. Then there's people in between side of it where it's like, I can make money, but if I don't, I'm still cool. Like
Yeah.
that's where I can make money, but if not, I'm still cool because I still love hip hop. I
Yeah.
still rap.
I'm like happy to break even, because it's like a lot of people's like, because I'm somewhere between the hobby and the professionalist depending on like what year we're talking, but it's like, it's like a lot of my friends are into stuff that their hobbies just cost them money. So the fact that there's even the possibility to see a return is pretty nice.
Bro, and that's what I'm saying. It's like you can't be so Hollywood minded, because it goes both ways. You can't be so, well, I'm not gonna pay anything because we're doing the same thing, so I shouldn't owe you anything. But you also other spectrum, which is Hollywood minded, like, well, you gotta pay me $1,000 for a verse. And all that's like, bro, really?
Right.
Like, you're not at that level to be requesting that kind of money.
Yeah.
So,
Which is
yourself.
something you run into. It's like I've been shocked at some established artists. I'm not going to name names in favor of them, but how little they have charged me. And I've been equally shocked at people I've never heard of how much they thought they were worth. And I wish I could introduce them to each other and watch the explosion, but it's just not the right thing to do.
Watch the conversation unfold, be like, yeah, this is good, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, it's like humble yourself, man. Like, don't like find that happy medium and live within that. You know what I mean? Like that's my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is, man. So what are you working on now? Or what do you got coming up in the future? You mentioned on the song that we just did that it was just a warm up for your album. So I appreciate being part of your warm up. But what is there an album coming next, or what do you got coming?
There's for sure an album coming. I would say I tell everybody this who asks about it. It's about, I want to say, 85 to 90% written. I've already got the beats locked in.
Do you work with like one particular producer, or do you work with a lot of different people?
I try to. I think ever since I came across this one producer who managed to produce probably majority of this album, God Intentions, I'd work with him. Like that's the guy that I go to for my beats.
What's his name?
L. David.
L. David. Check
Yeah, yeah. Like he has that nostalgic boom bap feel and vibe to his music, and you'll hear it immediately. Like as soon as you hear it, I mean, Corey makes the more modern stuff, the more commercial friendly stuff, but for the most part, I think his strong point is in that '90s hip hop boom bap style of rap, style of beats. But
well, if he wants to send me 10 free beats, just I'm kidding.
He's a great dude though, man. Like honestly, man, like once you get plugged into and build up that kind of that chemistry and that rapport with him.
That's a huge thing, because I have that with my producer, where it's like finding a producer that you actually can gel with. Once you have that, you don't want to rock that fucking boat, because it's so hard to find it. So.
Like he's work wittable, like to a point where, like I said, if you build that rapport with him, he's gonna work with you. It's not gonna be like I'm just doing this as a cash grab and bumped all that. Like he literally is like, yo, like he just checked in. I think maybe like after I posted one of my stories or whatever, he was like, yo, where's the album? I was like, still kind of sitting on it right now, bro. I haven't recorded anything for it. He was like, oh, for real? I thought it was on Spotify. I was like, nah, bro, I haven't put it out yet. But he's that type of producer where it's like he builds up that connection with you, that relationship with you. But ever since I locked in with him, bro, it's like I haven't gone anywhere else, bro. He has the sound that I need. You know, there's plenty of other people that's probably like willing to produce for me, but has that sound that fits what I'm doing. So it's like that's what we're doing. But
once you find your lane, it's like it's I definitely hit that point where I'm like, oh, it's I finally found that merge between the instrumentation and the vocals. And I go back and listen to my other stuff, and you didn't hear it not being there when you recorded the old stuff, but you hear it not being there now, where you're just like, oh, okay, that was the missing piece, and I can only hear it now that it exists to some degree. So.
That light bulb moment is like it's like like that's what it literally is, and that's what it was. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is the formula right here. You know, like the reception that I got for the album that he produced versus anything else, it was miles apart. It was like up here what he produced, middle ground as far as like what everything else came out before. I'm gonna stick with that formula, bro. But it's definitely it's in the works. After that, there's a couple people that actually want to do like some collaborative efforts, some collaborative projects. Still kind of weighing out my options with that. But mostly, man, just putting out more music, new content, stuff like that, man. You know.
So one thing I found in my life is there have been times that when I put things into the universe that I wanted, they actually sort of came true. And I've now got to work with some of my artists I've always wanted to work with. So just for the sake of that, who are your dream collaborations that you would want to work with?
I would say I've actually been asked this a couple of times. I think it changes every single time. I'm a huge Lupe Fiasco fan.
Oh, me too. I tried to get him, and I'm sure I couldn't have afforded him, but I was amazing.
Like
Mural. Oh my god.
I would say keep going at it with him because he's that just do it out of love. You know what I mean? Like, of course he stands to get paid, but I think he's more so inclined to do it versus a lot of these other artists because he seems to be like, yo, I'm doing this for the culture.
Like, I remember Lupe just took one of his songs. He just took a beat from some dude off Twitter, like, you know. And even Tyler mentioned that he discovered an artist that had like 6 views on YouTube or something. So these dudes are out there looking, you know.
Yeah, they're paying attention, and that's what's crazy about it is like they're listening just like everybody else. Like they're scouting just like everybody else.
You want to know how delusional I am? I have no problem admitting this, but so the cover of my album, I'll just send it to you. It's almost done, but it has a lot of like old photos of me that I've sort of worked into a collage, and it's kind of funny looking. But there's one of them with me wearing a D12 shirt, going like this with like long hair. And I had heard that Eminem listens to like every new album like every Saturday, and I'm like, oh, if he ever sees that, he's gonna check it out. Type of D12 shirt. And it was like that thought lasted about a half a second in my head, but once it ended, I laughed at myself so fucking hard. I was like, that's not gonna fucking happen.
Up that grabs his attention and makes him inclined to check out your music because it's like people. There's a lot of artists, bro. No matter what we may think of them, like as far as like being in Hollywood, like there's a lot of artists that just do this off the love, bro. Right. Like literally, just like, yo, I just love this so much to where it's like, here, throw me $3,000 and I got you.
Yeah. I mean, just think of it too. Like, so if tomorrow this album I put out was like made enough so that I never had to work a day job or whatever, I wouldn't be outside like sitting by a pool floating around. I'd be in a room that looks like this with some newer equipment, just listening to hip hop and making more hip hop. And it's like, it's like that's the thing too, where it's like, you know, Jay-Z hasn't given up because he's rich. He just does whatever the fuck he wants every day, and what he wants isn't just sitting around looking at Beyonce in a bikini as he sips a Mai Tai. You know, he wants to fucking do shit.
If he wants to drop some music, he'll drop some music because he's literally said, he said on interview like, yo, I don't even charge people. I don't charge. I just do this out of love. Like I do this because I love hip hop.
Yeah.
There's art like that, man. So, but for me, it would definitely be Lupe as far as like a dream collab. Of course, I mean, it's obvious the Coles, the Kendricks, and stuff like that. I would say if I had one more pick, probably Andre 3000, man.
It's a good one to pick, man.
Yeah, Andre 3000, bro. Like to me, he's such a unicorn in this shit, bro.
You know
He's
who
one.
else is? Oh, keep going. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. I just say
Uh,
he's time, bro.
You know who else isn't mentioned enough in that same caliber but belongs there is Jay Electronica.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Jay is a different mode of beast.
yeah, he's just like that album he put out with Jay-Z's all over it, which kind of feels a little like Watch the Throne too. I remember that joke beat coming out.
Been more Jay Electronica and not Jay Z because I felt like it was a Jay
Right.
Z with Jay Electronica. It
Yeah.
didn't show what he could do.
I mean, I was
But just
happy it existed at all after all that wait, but I agree. Yeah.
but just that little bit, you were left with like, yo, this dude can
Yeah.
go.
I mean,
Go.
at least it wasn't Waka Flocka Flame. At least it was Jay-Z. Like,
This is true.
it isn't like, oh, it's Jay Electronica, but it's the bassist from Mudhoney is on like 9 of the songs. You're like, oh, okay. I guess that happened for a reason.
And Jay Z didn't do him like Kendrick. He didn't control verse him. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
it wasn't like I'm just gonna straight annihilate you on all
Yeah,
these that were on. Like he didn't do it like that. So it was even. It was cool.
yeah. Are there any music you're particularly excited about that's on the horizon? I mean, we mentioned that Nas album. I think we're both excited. I'm excited to know that I can listen to it literally after we hang up this phone call, which I'll be doing as I make dinner. So I'm happy it's out. But what else are you excited about that's coming out? Anything in particular?
I would say I'm definitely checking for yours, bro.
I
So whenever
appreciate it. I'll send you once it's done. I'll send it to you in advance because there's going to be a little time it's not out because I'm working on
thank you.
promotion.
Looking forward to that. Send that to me. Outside of that, I would say probably, of course, Cole fall off because this is slated to be his last album, quote unquote.
What is your so J. Cole is somebody who was a little of the generation before me, and every time I've heard him, I think he's amazing. But I don't know a lot of Cole. I don't know I don't know a lot of like the mainstream dudes from that era. What is the best J. Cole album to really dive into first?
Well, you got a toss up now. There's a few people that are gonna say different
All
things.
right, I listened to them both.
I personally will recommend you since I feel like we're on the level of we're friends.
Yes, I'd agree so.
I would say check out 2014 Forest Hills Drive.
Okay.
That is the album that has been critically acclaimed and praised as his possibly his for sure classic.
I can
And what
picture covers. He like sitting on something at like an angle. Like, all right, I know the album you're talking about.
so a lot of people say that's his absolute classic masterpiece of an album due to the fact that there's no features, absolutely a zero feature album, all production handled by him. In addition to that as well too, it went on to be, of course, award nominated, all the good stuff like that. But just the fact that this man was able to produce something like that with zero features and all production by him, that right there was just like, okay. So
Was that the album that lost to Macklemore? I wonder if that because I remember I was just listening to something about him. I had missed that whole thing about the Macklemore text message to Kendrick Lamar, and like I just heard that story because I that guy's not really on my radar, but I heard that story for the first time recently, and I was like, this is fucking nuts.
no, that was Kendrick's album. That was To Pimp a Butterfly. That was
But I
Kendrick.
think there was like that year there was all the other albums beside that Macklemore album were all fucking fire because I think it was like I think it might have been the same year as Yeezus. I don't know. I was hearing it. And that story was just like, this is everything wrong with fucking the music industry.
No, you might have been right because I think the album that you're talking about that Macklemore had was the Heist. It was that one.
Yeah. It was the one with the thrift store song or whatever.
Heist, yeah. And that one beat out, I know for sure beat out Kendrick. I'm not sure who else was nominated in that category. I think it was like best rap, but I think 2014 might have been in that category, maybe. But yeah, man, amazing album, bro. Check that out.
So what's the one the album you think other people would say if it wasn't that one?
If it
Because
wasn't that one,
I got time. I can listen to all this
are you,
shit.
I
I
would
know
say
where
if
to
it was
go.
probably be KOD, Kids
Okay.
on Drugs, King Overdose, whatever you want to your take of it is, because I think he says like double meanings to it. But I would say KOD is probably KOD, and then maybe right behind that, the off season.
Okay.
Those are that probably people recommend you to. Yeah,
I got an album to recommend for you if you haven't heard it. You ever heard Elmatic by Elza?
I've heard of Elza and I've heard his music, but I have not heard that.
So Elmatic is he has this band called Will Sessions, and they basically they recreated Illmatic, but as a band. And he wrote new songs over it, which sounds like an absolutely horrible fucking idea that everybody should have told him no about. But it turned out amazing. And it's so fucking good. And like I have a couple songs with him that haven't come out. He to me is the pinnacle level MC of everything that I would want to be. But like that album, Elmatic, is just fucking
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm very familiar with Elsa, like for 1000%. I've never heard of that though. That is new news to me, and I'm gonna check that out right now as we speak. I'm actually typing it in.
Sweet.
I don't forget.
It's really dope. And some of his lines on that are just there's only one feature. It looks like Illmatic, but for this one, it's Royce the 5'9" instead of AZ. So it's perfect person to pick, you know.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out for sure. Because again, I've heard of his music. I've actually heard some of his music, but I've never heard that. And the fact that he did a rendition, because it's not
Yeah.
necessarily him, it, but he did his own version of Illmatic, which is my
Ballsy move. Ballsy move.
bro. Still to this day, bro, Nas, he has almost like the prototype
Yeah.
for an album
Yeah.
with Illmatic. Now, mind you, he's gone to drop a gang of other albums.
Uchi Wally Wally. Uchi Wally Wally.
He's gone on to drop a gang of albums,
Yep.
but Illmatic, that is hands down New York hip hop and what it should have been,
Yep.
and what it's at that time frame.
I remember buying Godson in Queens the day it came out because I happened to have been there that day. And I remember how like it was such a small gesture, but how important it felt to me to be able to buy that album in Queens and like and just how much it like just like the elevated trains and just like everything that is so Queens, you're just like to be able to breathe that air for me. It was a novelty, you know. Obviously, so many other
Yeah.
people that get to live it every day, but I was just like, man, this felt, you know, that
It
fucking record kicks
puts you,
ass.
of course, you to Queens. Like when you listen to that from top to bottom, it's like, yeah, you
Yeah,
feel like you know what I mean? You on the stoop, or you feel like you over there at the corner store, the bodega, just chilling with your partners and stuff like that. So yeah, man,
yeah,
that gutsy move.
yeah.
That could have not ended well.
Hey, what are you gonna do? You know?
That could have very not ended well, and that could have been the career suicide, if you ask me, bro.
Yeah.
So
Yo, God, yeah, yeah.
that's
What
one album that's with.
what are the people who, you know? Obviously, I'm not going to shit on It Was Written, but the people who try to say It Was Written is better, I'm just like, I mean, yeah, there's a song about the gun which I like, and like tons of great shit on it, but it's just not Illmatic. Like it doesn't. It's, you know.
Even with his new stuff right now, like what he's doing with Hit Boy, like King's
Yeah.
Disease, Magic, and all that stuff, is great, but it's not Illmatic. And I get it, it's different time frames, different style production, of course, different artists that he's featuring and working with, but it's like it's still not Illmatic, bro. Illmatic was like a movie. It
Yeah.
was like you clearly see and visualize what this man is saying to you, and you feel like you're right there, first person experiencing all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's how.
I think his new stuff is sort of the career peak he's always been working towards. I think he was someone too. I think a lot of people he suffered from inconsistent production of beats, and now that he's linked up with Hit Boy, I think he's finally feels like he's in a groove, and I think he's finally producing these end-to-end great albums that like are for of someone of his magnitude should be putting out. But it's still not. He's still not that same 19-year-old chip tooth kid that was like, you know,
But like you
spitting.
said, he found his groove with the production because that's always been something that's been plaguing him. It's like his lack of picking good beats. Like everybody says,
Yeah.
like he's a rapper. It's just his beat selection is terrible. But
Yeah.
now that with Hit Boy, he's in that pocket now. He's in his pocket where it's just like, yeah, I can do this. Like
Yeah.
I would show You know, like you clown me about the beats, but now I'm gonna show y'all. So
Yeah. I think Nas is like the premiere, the song with him and Primo. That to me is about as perfect as a hip hop song. And like the video with him recording it in the bathtub or the bathroom or whatever, like it's just that to me is when I close my eyes and just think of like the hip hop, that's what comes in my head. It's just like
yeah, yeah, like that. Your head's just bobbing. It's like
yeah,
like that's what hip hop is, bro. And it's not the clown or downgrade any other artist that's coming up behind that. Because again, we'll never get another Nas. We never
right.
will. But at the end of the day, it's like if you look for longevity in this game, if you look to be a staple in this game, like Nas, take the little subtle cues and study this man's moves, study how he does stuff,
Yeah.
and that to that level. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a man who has stayed out of trouble a lot in his life. I mean, it's in the trouble has not been around him, but he's made a lot of smart moves. He's also someone who has he never really had that ambition to get into acting. He always knew who he was and just was the best version of him that he could be. Like, and I think he's somebody who is just he's a fucking man. Like he's a all encompassing human being that anybody should be able to really look up to and respect.
he doesn't try and go out of his way to be someone that he's not. Like
No.
he's just like unapologetically. Like if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. It is what it is to him.
Right.
Like him, he doesn't try to be else. So you got to respect that.
It's funny, like I used to drop Nas lines at work sometimes. Nobody knew who the fuck any rapper was. And I'd be like, sleep is the cousin of death. And everybody thought that was the most genius thing. And I don't explain to them it was like a Nas statement. But it's just like it's funny that even like all the random shit that falls out of my mouth, the one that people hang on was the one that Nas said. Cause it's just that like you never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. It's just
bro. It's like the man was dropping gems, bro. He was really dropping gems, man. He still listed it. But it's like the gems that he was dropping back then were like profound. It was like, whoa, like
he must have just felt like a vessel because I was thinking about this that there's that video of Biggie, the first video you really see him of rapping on the street corner where he looks really young. He's probably 16 or something years old, and I think he passed away at like 23. So that video was only 6 or 7 years before he passed. And like when you're that young and that talented, I feel like you're almost just a vessel because I remember when I was like at that age, there's no way that my body could have handled all of that talent in it. And it's just like, and I think Nas at that age, luckily he didn't have suffer the same fate as Biggie and Tupac and Big L and a zillion others, but like he must have just been channeling the universe.
absolutely. And you could tell, like you say, he stays out of trouble for the most part. He stays out of trouble. He's not bringing drama to his life. He tries to stay pretty much off the radar, low key. But you can definitely tell he's a vessel, bro, because he says it all the time, with Godson, like he gave himself that moniker for a reason because he's literally channeling the universe, channeling the scripture, the word, so to speak, and that's just who he is, bro. And it's like, if anybody really wants to examine someone who can really basically make their way through this game and be unscathed, he's the one. Even to some he's another one to look at. Like, oh, he went through it.
Who was that? You cut out a second.
See.
Oh yeah. So who, in your opinion, who won that battle?
Nas.
Yeah, definitely.
Nas, hands down, bro.
It was like he clearly won, though it wasn't a blowout. Because not like Jay-Z got embarrassed, but like
he said disrespectful stuff. Though,
he did. Though it's like what we remember is shit like Eminem killed you on your own shit. Like I remember that more than what like Jay-Z said about like Nas's girl. Like it's like you're just like oof, man. Yeah. Like oof.
He respected him, man. Talking about Foxy had your face in a pussy.
Yeah. Or you think you're getting girls now because of your looks? Negro, please. Mustache happen compared to whiskers like a rat compared to being you whack. Your man stabbed and made you take the blame. Like, which just came out and admitted that.
Yeah, it's like, bro, he was literally. It just kind of brings me back. I don't know if he was tuned in or dialed in, but it really takes me back to just like freaking another classic, I guess you could say, tit for tat was Drake and Pusha with freaking Story Adidon. That literally
real style of clash style, but yeah.
Yeah, it was the equivalent of Ether. It was like, I'm going to expose things about you that
Yeah.
nobody else knows. Have
Yeah,
no
this
chance.
blackface photo that like, fucking, where the fuck did that come from?
I'm going to obliterate every chance you possibly have to return fire.
Yeah.
There's no to shoot back. It's done. That's literally what that was, bro. To me, that's
Yeah.
what Ether. There
Yeah.
was no clapback. It was like, this is the one headshot and we done.
Yep.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. It's, but hey, it's
You lose some.
all is well that ends well, but it's like that's why when I saw people like 50 Cent like throwing shots at like Nas and like Jadakiss, I'm like, now what is this about? Like what
Real.
well, how do
But
we think this is gonna end?
we know it's not going to end well. We don't
No.
get it wrong. 50 is the king of petty. He's
Yeah.
the king.
Oh yeah, and it's 50 somebody who I remember when he first came out, I was like, yeah, this guy's mostly fluff. But as time has gone on, I'm like, nah, he's got some real fucking like Heat, that song off of the first album, or it's just yeah.
Yeah, and he stayed taking shots at Ja Rule. He's like every chance his
I
man.
know.
It was never like, I'm gonna just chill on Ja Rule, man. F him. This
Yeah.
dude, every single shot, every chance he got, I was like, damn, 50. Like, this is the epitome of kicking a man while he's
I know. I know. And it's like in Ja Rule, I was watching the Matt Hoffa podcast the other day, and the Ja Rule was there, and there he is answering questions about 50 Cent. Like it's like because when there's a camera in front of 50 Cent, not every question is about Ja Rule, but when there's a camera in front of Ja Rule, at least half the questions about 50 Cent. Well, now it's the Fire Festival and 50 Cent.
Yeah, it's not
So
Fire Fest. If it's not 50 Cent, it's Fire Fest, or it's probably
yeah.
both.
And then it's somebody asking if he still has Ashanti's phone number or something.
It's nothing about his music. No
Yeah.
one's.
It's like did like there's no one being like, yo, put it on me to walk me through that. And I don't even like, I love Ja Rule when that shit came out. I mean, it's like, and I'm sure he put it on now, I'd probably still enjoy some of it, but like he got clowned in a way that he didn't really come back from that.
Coming back from that, bro. 50 was literally like kicking him while he was down, bro. I was like, damn, Fifth, like you're not gonna let up at all, huh? You just
I
gonna
know.
keep
And that's the thing too, for everybody who wants to do this for the fame, you got to be ready for the embarrassment too, because it's like, who was it? Was it Genuine that recently fell on stage? It's like this, you're gonna do something fucked up in front of a lot of people, and you better be able to handle that and laugh it off. And that's one thing about 50 that I think one reason I didn't like him from the beginning is he seemed to have no humility. But as he got older and have a sense of humor about himself, then he really pulled me in. I was reading an interview with him talking about Juvenile, and he's like, we were all clowning Juvenile with all like the friggin', the baby oil and stuff. He's like, then I saw those numbers and I'm like, give me the baby oil.
yeah, like yo, like we thought it was a game until you start doing them numbers. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm on that train too.
Yep. Yep. No.
But yeah, man, 50, man, he's built different. He comes from a different, class of individual or artist. Like, he can throw the punches, but he can also take them as well too. Because he'll literally a disc that you throw his way and he'll flip it in his favor. Like I've seen multiple times. So it's
That's some
like
Bruce Lee shit. It's like you use what's coming at you against the person.
Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
So it's okay. But
It's
yeah,
like it's crazy like losing a battle to somebody who's a worse MC than you because they're like still kind of smarter than you, which is the weird thing. That's like 50's a very smart guy. He's not the pinnacle MC, but he's a very smart guy and he can win battles. It's like when I'm watching Jeopardy and I get a question right even though I don't know the answer. It happens all the time. And he sort of is like, despite not always being the best MC in the fight, he's still coming out on top. And he's just like, you Donald Trump motherfucker. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
he's like that dude that you would hate to play the dozens. You're familiar with the dozens, right?
Maybe yeah, I think so. What do you, is it just like
It's like disses, like you just
yes,
diss.
yeah.
He would be the guy that you would hate to play the dozens with because he's like literally he's not the most skilled, but he has enough ammo to get you up out of there. Like he's like, yeah.
And charm is huge.
Yeah. So it's like, and he's confident. That's one thing that's unwavering is his confidence. Like his confidence level is through the roof. It's like, how do you face somebody like that?
It's funny too. It's like when you're looking at like all the people that are really big and famous, people like him, the difference between him and maybe some other rappers is look at the way women react to him. And I think like is a weird example, but Pete Davidson's like that too. All these dudes are just like, who the fuck would be into him? I don't hear any women saying that. Every woman I know is like, no, I know why Pete Davidson's got it. And it's like 50 Cent's got that same energy too, where it's like dudes be like, oh, fuck 50. But like the women, even though, I mean, like Lil Kim would probably call him back, and
Sure. For sure. Like the plenty of people that have been dissed by him would probably be like, you know what, man, 50 cool, man. You
yeah.
know?
Even Ja Rule said that. Ja Rule was like, he said in one of his interviews, like, what do you think would happen if 50 Cent walked in here right now? And the guy was like, I don't know. He's like, we would shake hands and we'd be polite, and that would be it. And he's
Yeah.
just like, that's probably true, because what would the point of having anything else happen be? It's just like,
You guys are too old for that, first and foremost.
yeah,
Secondly, it's like, bro, like at the end of the day, all's fair in love and war, man. Like
right.
take L's. We win some, we lose some. But we still live, right? You know what I
50,
mean?
I
So
feel like 50 and Jaw have almost a Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd relationship, where it's like, it's a constant thing where it's like, one is like, Bugs is always a step in front of
yep,
him, and then at the end pulls the rug out from under him, and everybody laughs and goes home. We do it again in 6 months.
yep. Like it's literally that. And I'm just like, that's 50.
Globetrotters versus the Generals.
That's 50, bro. Like 50 is gonna do him all day, every day. And truth be told, man, at the end of the day, it's like you gotta have tough skin to
Yeah.
operate in. Like there's no sign of weakness that you can show anybody. And I feel like once they pick up on that, then it's a wrap for you, bro. Especially in this, bro. You know how overly competitive hip hop is.
Right.
So
And that's the
yeah,
thing too. I was talking this with XL the Beast. It's like, if you're getting into hip hop, like obviously me, I'm not some dude looking for a fight or anything, but if I say the wrong thing, I might be getting a fight. And it doesn't take like, only one misunderstood bar could lead to 6 months of a whole posse of idiots like harassing you online and making you scared to leave the house. And it's like, you have to be ready to at least understand something like that could happen and know that you're gonna have to find a way to deal with it and not
yeah,
just cave.
absolutely. You gotta learn how to traverse the
You'll be
terrain.
you will be tried in some way, shape, or form if you're going to be a
Oh,
rapper. Someone will step to you at some point.
so be careful what you put out on these mics, kids. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know.
Like,
We had that happen here. There's
your
a dude
words.
named there's a dude named Sam Adams, who I think now goes by Sammy Adams, who is from Wayland, Mass, which I grew up in a small town, but this was a more affluent small town around me. And he put out this album that did numbers overnight, and Jimmy Iovine loved him, and it was called Boston's Boy. Which Slain, who, if you're familiar with him, he's the big rapper from Boston. He was an actor in some Ben Affleck movies, and he was part of La Coca Nostra. He took exception to this dude being called Boston's Boy. And the reality of having Slain, who I believe might have been in his cocaine years, so don't quote me on that, breathing down the neck of this dude must have really changed his reality overnight. And it's just that easy. It's like, I'd never call myself Boston's Boy. I'd expect numerous people in Boston hip hop to be fucking pissed about that.
Like you just kind of like you learn what to say and what not to say, and in that, and I think in that instance he wasn't looking to ruffle feathers. It was just kind of like, yeah, you know what I mean. I'm from Boston, you know what I mean. This is who I am, So, but you got to really be mindful. Be mindful
It,
with
it's like, if you're going from T-ball to like the next league, you have to expect it's different. It's like hockey. You can play hockey all the way through college and never get checked. But if you're good in the NFL, I mean the NHL, now you can get checked. And you better
that
be fucking ready for that.
for sure. So, but yeah, man. Like I said, man. Damn, what were we talking about?
I don't know. We've been going for a while.
But I love it though, bro. I love it, because these are genuine conversations, and I love stuff like this because it gives you a chance to really just kind of, have a casual conversation, man. Everything doesn't have to be so uptight and so structured,
Yeah. It's funny. One thing I was telling someone the other day, one thing I realized about the podcast, doing the podcast, is people have conversations with you in public that they wouldn't really have in private. Like if I just like found these people on Instagram they found interesting, hit them up, be like, hey, you want to just talk on the phone for an hour about whatever? And they'll be like, who the fuck are you? But I'm like, oh, we're gonna record it and share it with the world. They're like, awesome. And it's true, but it's been awesome. It's been great. And then it's like it takes a long time to meet somebody in the real world, but now it's like you talk to me for an hour and a half and you skip all of that. Now you actually like know the person, and
Yeah, bro. Literally, it took what, like all of maybe 10 minutes for us to solidify this.
yeah,
Like before it happened, you was like, "Yo, I want to put you on the podcast." I was like, "All right, cool."
right. But there is a part of that for me that's already done my homework because I weeded out 9 other MCs that were tied to Syracuse because I'm like, I see something about them and I'm just like, that might be a problem. I mean, it's like I've gotten very lucky with every step of the way when I try to find just when I'm like an idea of somebody, I try to find that person online. I've gotten lucky that I haven't yet stumbled on an absolute psychopath yet. They're out there though.
Assure you, bro. I assure you. I represent Syracuse in the most positive way possible, man. So
Do you we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon because I gotta feed my cats and everybody, but like one Syracuse question. I know I'm going to be a lapsed fan because I only found out recently they dropped the orange man and now they're just the orange. And
yep.
my goal in high school, this shows you where I was at in high school, is I wanted to be the Syracuse Orange Man. I always had a thing about mascots and I always wanted to kind of like be one. And I was like, I want to be inside that big orange man. And it's also like the least like intimidating mascot. It's a fucking orange. And like the great orange fields of Syracuse, I mean, you're living in Florida. You should be the fucking orange man down there.
Yeah, we're known for oranges down here. So.
Yeah. So was that a thing that people? It's like we grew up in a town where like they were always changing names of teams because of all this shit, because of whatever. But did people give a fuck when that happened, or was it just like who cares?
I think it was a mix. It was a mixed crowd. Like some people didn't care, some people did. Just like I think recently, not recently, but like a while ago, kind of similar to it when I'm not sure if you're a wrestling fan or not, huge wrestling fan.
Enormous. Oh, how are we just getting into this now? I was literally watching wrestling before we started. I was watching AEW Collision.
Universe, man, the universe, bro.
Yeah.
So back in the day, WWF, that was a big thing. It was like, why did we change? Why did they change it? Everybody was like, yo, what's going on?
You know why they changed it? Because of this fucking panda right here. The World Wildlife Fund. They lost a lawsuit. This is like one of the few lawsuits Vince McMahon lost. The
exactly.
Panda people.
I was going with it. It's like you had instances like
how ready for that was I?
They're like, why do you have the panda?
I believe in animals, man.
Hey, man, that's important. Yeah. Respect Mother Earth. But yeah, man, like when that happened, a lot of people's kind of up in arms about it. It was like, yo, we've known it to be WWF since like forever. Why did you change it? But there's some people that's like, it is what it is. Like, I don't care. I'm still gonna watch. It's not gonna change the viewership. There's still gonna be people supporting it and fans of it. So who cares? I think honestly, bro, you just get a mix. You get a mix of people who care, the diehards. I think the people are like, leave it the same. Then you got the people who are just like, who cares? So
speaking of wrestling, do you know the one wrestler that beat Jay-Z in court?
I know.
Diamond Dallas Page. He beat Jay-Z in court over the right to do this, or he at least got paid for it. Fucking the thing is, I love DDP has a yoga thing called DDP yoga that I swear changed it got me in such good shape, and he's done so many good things for people. So it's like that dude's fucking amazing in my book, but he beat Jay-Z in court over the right to do this. Imagine being that judge.
Yeah, and I didn't think about it until after you said, I was like, wait, what rapper and what Diamond Dallas Page, bro? He's always up the diamond and with the bang and all that stuff. So wait, so the thing really works?
Yeah, it's great. It's basically like I've been into yoga for years. I don't do it as much anymore, but there was a period in my life where I was really feeling weak and like overweight and wasn't doing well. And I bought it for my dad, who was he just went through alcohol rehab and was really not doing well and did some yoga and helped him. Like, we'll get this going. He had some back issues from the military, whatever. I'm way off the point now. Yeah. But I bought it for him. He didn't really do it. So I took it back one day and just started doing it. And I started doing it every single fucking day. And I got so much stronger. It's like this great, it's really hard at first, but it's a great mix of just, it's like fast-paced yoga. So you're moving fast, working out your whole body. It's awesome.
That's crazy. I've never spoke to anybody who actually used it. Like, I've seen him promoting it and I've seen him, pretty much putting on, on blast, but I've never seen talk to anybody who actually.
A lot of wrestlers use it. Chris Jericho swears by it, and he's sort of, for him to be going like he is at his age, something's got to be,
Hey. Seriously, bro, like it's crazy, bro. I never would have pegged you as a wrestling fan, man.
So what are your? We'll go on for a few more minutes to talk about some wrestling. What's you more AEW or WWE?
WWE. Right. I have had so many recommendations about AEW, and I like some of the stuff that they do as far as like I guess the extreme aspects of it, with the death matches and all that stuff like that. But as far as just storylines, creative, as far as like the characters and all that stuff, I'm team WWE all day.
One thing I'll
Like,
tell you is, if you the new show Collision, they've only had 6 episodes. It's on Saturday nights. That is closer to a WWE product for AEW than a
okay,
lot of, like, I'm not into, like, the AEW for me sometimes is too fast, there's too much shit going on, there's too many young bucks throwing super kicks, and, like, I mean, I'm on the CM Punk side of that debate, so it's like, and the Collision's the Punk show, so
you're
I'm what?
a John Moxley fan?
You know what? I was, but the blood in wrestling has come to really gross me out. If he stopped bleeding tomorrow, I'd be a big fan. But I just think of it, there's no other arena of life in life where two human beings are literally bleeding into each other, and it just turns my stomach now in a way that I have to, you know. I'm a
So
pussy.
so would that be kind of like a push for you being more so on the WWE side because they've tamed that
Yeah.
meat
What I
performance?
do most weeks is that I tape everything and I watch very little of it live because that's usually when I'm spending time with my girlfriend. And then I will hear what's good and I'll fast forward to the best stuff of everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, me too. Like honestly, bro, I maybe catch Raw, mainly because of course they pretty much upload it Tuesdays because I don't catch it live.
Yeah.
Everyone's
3
streaming.
hours on a Monday night, like, it's a big ask. Like,
When we were kids, absolutely. Like
right.
during the war era
Yeah.
and the
I'll take it. But
I was I was like, yeah, I'm watching every single minute of this. But now,
3 hours of shush and, like, Otis and Clark Gable is a little, or whatever. Clark Gable, what the fuck, isn't it? That's not, but, like, yeah.
but I'll catch it on Tuesdays, Raw, and then I'll try and maybe catch NXT in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
It's completely ignored. Like I don't
Which
even
people
make.
say is the SmackDown, people say is the best show.
They do, and it's probably mainly due to Roman Reigns. But I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't move to watch it. Like I'll move to watch Raw just so I can kind of keep in the loop of what's going on, like pay-per-views, and I'll watch like NXT because it's a completely different entity by itself.
Yeah.
But when it comes to SmackDown, I'm kind of like, if I catch it, cool. If I don't, nah, and plus, on the weekends we're constantly moving, me and my wife, so we really have little time to sit down and watch anything. So
Yeah. And if you miss something, it's not like you really want to go back and catch it. There's something new coming in 2 days anyway. The thing about
exactly.
as much as everybody loves the Bloodline stuff, which I think is pretty great, I'm enjoying the Judgment Day stuff even more. Like the stuff with Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio. I am on board for Dom, for ex-con Dom or whatever.
I see, bro. I did not expect him to win that. I did not expect him to win the
Me
title.
neither. I haven't watched that match because I was like, is it gonna be worth watching it? But now I gotta go back and watch it.
Bro, I haven't watched it either. How I found out about it was, of course, I get the alerts, social
Yeah.
media. I
I'm on
think I got
PW Insider every day.
the WWE app, like the
Yeah.
little app that they used to have, but they pretty much give you like all the other stuff. So I just go there sometime, periodically and just check like the superstars, like the champions and stuff. And I saw him with the title. I was like, so they really gave him the title.
Yeah.
What
He's the
hell?
honky tonk man. He's like, it's brilliant. Like he's the dude who gets titles he doesn't deserve and holds on to them. And it's like,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
great role to be in.
What does that say for NXT though? Because it's like you've taken their second most prestigious title.
Well, that's why
And
I compare it to the honky tonk man, because he took that belt off of, was it the Intercontinental belt off of what, Savage or Steamboat or someone really big? And then it was like the crowd was just so mad because he didn't deserve it. So it was instant heat.
yeah, and plus it's building up his character too, because as you see, although he's a heel and one of the most hated heels right now, people are so behind that. They're
Yeah.
so behind to a point
And
where
Rhea
it's,
Ripley.
yeah, it's like a frenzy of them not liking them. So it's like you're right. It's genius to put it on him. Yeah.
Rhea Ripley is a cross between China and Sherry Martel. I heard someone say the other day, and I'm like, she's amazing. She
Yeah,
is the prototype of a female wrestler.
yeah, pound for pounds. I remember before she got called up to the main roster, I remember her having her match with Raquel Gonzalez.
Yes,
Man, that match was crazy. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that match was crazy. I think it was like a last woman standing
yeah.
match or something. I was like, dude, she's a superstar in the making for sure, bro. Like
Who?
1,000.
So who do you think should take this belt off Roman?
Oh, that's a good debate.
And do you think it should have been? Now, I'm a person. I'll give you time to think about this while I give my commentary on this. I'm somebody. One of the reasons I haven't really got behind the storyline as much as others. I don't buy Sami Zayn at all. I don't buy the bloodline should have been stupid enough to let him in. B, his story doesn't make enough sense of being like, okay, he was in on all their bad stuff. He was fine with them beating the shit out of Kevin Steen the first 10 times, but the ninth time, it's like 10th time. I just, I don't, I just don't buy him as a top guy.
I would say, with the Sami Zayn situation, I kind of agree with you in the sense that they probably shouldn't have let him in. Because the truth be told, bro, like I guess the kind of build around the Kevin Owens dynamic of his relationship and connection to Sami, and then Sami being directly tied to the bloodline. Of course, Kevin Owens having his issues with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso around the pandemic era.
Yeah.
It kind of made sense in that sense. But as far as believability, I'm kind of with you with is like, there's no way that they would have let this dude into the bloodline, bro.
Yeah.
Of all people, they grabbed him.
I know.
Of all the others they could have grabbed.
I know. It's like that dude, to me, it's like he's a tag team champion, really. That's all and even like when I see him cut interviews now, I'm like, he's one of those few guys that I'm glad the crowd does give him a genuine reaction, but I don't feel it. Like I enjoy the matches when I see it, but I don't get as emotionally involved in his stuff for some reason. Like I do with Judgment Day. You know?
Him as a heel wasn't that dynamic.
Right.
Like before he joined the
conspiracy theory stuff. I mean, I remember him as El Generico in Ring of Honor, and I was loving that shit, but he was just a lucha, really.
It was like he wasn't that dynamic when he was in that role as the Intercontinental Champion. So it's like for him to go from that to Bloodlines is like, it's okay. Truth be told, as far as like who should take the belt off of Roman, I'm trying to make it quick because I know you got to get. But I would say, shit, I would have, even though I know it wouldn't happen, I would have liked for it to be Brock Lesnar. I would have liked Lesnar to take it. To me, I feel like that would have made sense as far as like physicality goes, because truth be told, who else is dominating Roman Reigns besides Brock Lesnar? Right.
And that's even with like Cody Rhodes. I'm like, I love Cody Rhodes, but I look at those two guys next to each other, and they don't seem like they're on the same.
They're not on the same.
Right, one looks like an IC guy, and one looks like a real world champion. You know,
it's not the same level. Now, popularity maybe, but as far as like actual working in the ring, they're not on the same level, because even his move set's not that great.
Right.
Like Cody's move set is not that great. Like when you look at all the moves that he does, it's like,
the fall down slap thing. I wish he'd stop doing that. You know, it's
like, but I would say Brock Lesnar was my number one pick. But then when they gave Seth Rollins a shot, I would say, bro, come on. But I would say currently who I would like for it to dethrone him right now, damn, that's a good question. I would say probably, maybe if they ever get his booking right, Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know where the hell he is. But yeah, he's a good person to come out of nowhere and do it.
If they ever get his booking right, I could see him being champion again for sure.
I think it'll be Jey Uso.
Jey Uso?
I think the reason I think that, either that or Solo maybe, but the reason I think it'll be because it's believable in the way that I said that I didn't really believe Cody Rhodes beating him, even though obviously it's all pre-scripted. It's Jey Uso is also not quite the same size as Roman because of their history. It's you believe that he would win. It's easy to get caught up in that moment. And then Jey Uso, I believe, could be beaten. He's more believable to lose to someone like Cody or something. I don't think Jey Uso would have a long title reign, but I think he's a good competitor to turn into a different type of champion. Because I don't think the next champion is going to be 4 years going like Roman. I think they're going to move into treating the belt in a different way, and that might be a good way to do it.
It's going to probably be more than likely a babyface who's going to get the belt.
For probably a short period of time before a heel probably takes it.
They had a heel hold it for so long, so they couldn't go from heel to heel. Like they would have to give it to a babyface. But yeah, I could see that too, where maybe they are possibly setting up for Solo to kind of step in. Like, hey, you thought I wasn't a threat, but here I am. So, that's a possibility as well too. So, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Who knows how
gonna be.
much more Roman has in the tank too? Obviously, he's had a lot of health problems with leukemia over the years, and he works a very short schedule. And he's someone else who could have a Hollywood career should he want one. I'm
Oh yeah.
sure. I mean, he was in Hobbs and Shaw briefly, and I'm sure that he's such a good
Oh,
looking motherfucker and so good on the mic.
he's got the rock.
Yeah, he's got that rock blood.
Yeah, he's got the rock pathway. Like I see him going into Hollywood. I see him being a huge megastar in that. So, but real quick, one more question.
Yep.
You favorite WWE superstar currently right now?
Fuck. Man, it's hard for me not to say Dominic Mysterio as much as I hate to say that, but he's the guy that when he's on the screen, I know I'm going to see something great. But I would also say, I mean, maybe Finn Balor. It's got to be Judgment Day related.
Okay.
How about you?
Okay. Respect that. Seth Rollins, man. Seth
He's
Rollins
pretty
is
great too.
my guy. He's just a well-rounded superstar, bro. Like to me personally, his in-ring presence is amazing. His connection with the fans, as you can see, heel or babyface.
I don't even know which he is.
Either way.
Yeah.
Calls himself the drip god, comes out with the most craziest freaking
I love
outfits.
that shit, man. I love it. It's just
And his
I love when someone wears something that 98% of the world would make fun of them for, but for some reason on him it's cool. It's all like David Bowie syndrome. It's like this motherfucker can get away with it.
a few that can wear what he wears. And most importantly, bro, the icing on the cake, his theme music, bro.
Yeah.
You can along with it. Like
what is the greatest wrestling theme music of all time, you think? And I think for me, it's hard not to pick Shinsuke Nakamura, who Little Uzi Vert just sampled, and I was like, I like it.
I heard about that. And he named Nakamura too.
So he I don't know a lot of his stuff, but it put him on my radar for sure. Not that that's like the end all be all for him is to be on my fucking radar, but
damn man, who has
that one I love. I also love I love Shawn Michaels, how he sings his own music. That's pretty fucking wonderful. He was definitely must have been on pills at that point.
That was amazing too. I can't think of just one off the top of my head that I would give it like the crown.
You know what I love is somebody's gonna get their ass kicked. Somebody's gonna get the wig split. Mark Henry's music. I fucking love that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Mark
Henry's amazing because he's one of those guys who shows you just gotta fucking stick with it. He was terrible for 10 years and he ended his career as a fucking champ. Like when he came out and did the fake retirement on John Cena, where he looks like he's gonna retire, then he slams him. He's like, "I got tons left in the tank," or something like that. I was like, "Yes, give me this."
Came out as a WWE Hall of Famer, and so that's a huge thing, man. Huge accolade again. In terms of theme music, bro, I would say if I'm talking about current, because I gotta break it up like this. I'm talking about current, either Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. If I'm talking about back in the day, just overall, because it's changed so many times, but it's always been amazing with the exception of this one era. Undertaker. Like the
one era of the American Badass is the one who was Kid Rock.
Kid Rock one was cool. I like that. The rolling. I like that.
Oh, that was Limp Bizkit. But
my bad.
Kid Rock, but he came out to that too. He came out to that at WrestleMania because Fred Durst played him to the ring. But then he did Kid Rock, American Badass as his regular theme.
That one I didn't like, but to keep rolling, Limp Bizkit because that was a huge.
It's a great song, yeah. And then the remix of that has like Method Man, Redman, DMX, and I think maybe Exhibit and someone else like that.
Like I love Limp Bizkit, bro. Huge Fred Durst fan. Love them guys. That one was amazing, and then just pretty much like
that's the Florida in you right there.
Bro, back in my MTV TRL days, bro, I love Bizkit, bro.
When I got MTV for the first time at the age of 21, that was the summer of Limp Bizkit, Real Slim Shady, Bye Bye Bye, but NSYNC.
Yeah, man, there was a lot of moments where it was just
like Pimpin' by Jay-Z. I saw that video. The song he's still apologizing for, but I still fucking love it.
You think J-Lo was on?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, I would say probably Undertaker because it's changed throughout the years, but it's always stayed consistent. It's always been great, if you ask me. So,
the guy who made most of WWE's theme music, his name is Jim Johnston, and he has a podcast that I haven't heard yet, but he talks about he just basically talks about all the wrestling themes he did. So I got to check that out at some point. So
that out too. And like I grew up on wrestling, bro. We could talk about it all day, all night. To be honest.
Yeah, we should definitely come back and do another episode because we've been going about 2 hours now, and I gotta get back to regularly scheduled programming. But this has been a fucking pleasure, man. I'm so glad you're not an asshole. It's always good when I find random people and work with them and they're not dickheads.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that. I try my best not to be.
All right, man. I appreciate that too. All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. I'll send you a copy of this before it goes live. We'll talk soon.
Okay, absolutely, bro. Take care,
All right,
man. Thank you.
Peace. Bye.